Well, a very good morning, race fans, and a very warm welcome to the second day of our opening weekend of the season here live on BARC TV from the home of British motorsport here at Silverstone in what some would describe, sadly, as typical Silverstone weather. It was mostly dry yesterday until our final race, but the rain has arrived, unfortunately, for our second day of competition. Hopefully you've all coping okay with the time difference, with clocks having gone forward an hour in the UK ahead of today's competition. And we'll be kicking off in just over 15 minutes time with our first race of the second day here with the British Automobile Racing Club. Dave Goddard here taking you through the action as ever. We see a new class of racing coming up for our first race of the day today, in the shape of the Britcar Prototype Cup, a new initiative for the 2023 season, incorporating the Praga category. Of course, the Praga Cup ran as a standalone series last year, but they're incorporated with a few other prototypes this year, and entries set to rise across the course of the 2023 season. Some very high quality drivers in today's field. We'll introduce them to you fairly shortly. We also have two races today for the Britcar Trophy category. We saw the British Endurance Championship with their 3-hour race yesterday. Claude Beauvais and David McDonald taking the win in their Mercedes AMG GT3, having fought off Peter Erteg and Marcus Clutton in their Audi R8 GT3. Well, it's the trophy category that takes centre stage today. Everything from Ginettas to Renault Clios. We've got BMWs, a Mazda RX-8s, VW Golfs, Ford Fiestas and plenty more in the trophy field. They have two 50-minute races today with a mandatory pit stop, and also we welcome along the Classic Touring Car Racing Club for the repeat of the three sets that we saw racing yesterday. We've got the Edmondson Electrical Classic Thunder Saloons, the Burton Power Blue Oval Saloons for everything Ford, and the Berkshire Jag Components Jaguar Challenge all racing together. It was Jason West's BMW that topped that group yesterday in a safety car affected race. Michael Seaborn, the former Jaguar champion, borrowing Derek Pierce's XK8, took his first outright Jaguar victory. He's had several class wins in the past. And in the Blue Oval Saloons, it was Mike Manning's beautiful Sierra Cosworth that took the win. The second set for the Classic Touring Car Racing Club, pre-93 and pre-03 touring cars, sponsored by Laser Tools and Bertie Haulage. We did see the Super Touring cars yesterday as well. I can tell you, unfortunately, we won't see any Super Touring cars today, so apologies if you were expecting to see the Vauxhall Vectra and the Nissan Primeras. The Nissans had some problems yesterday. We saw Richard Wheeler have an off going into Copse into the gravel. Anthony Reid, Super Touring legend, in his Primera sadly suffered engine failure, and therefore the three Super Tourers will not be out today, unfortunately. So it's just the pre-03 and pre-93 touring cars, but they had a good scrap in yesterday's race. It was Stuart Waite's BMW who took the win, while Gary Preble, the former King of Castle Combe, topped the pre-03s in his Honda Civic. And the third set from the Classic Touring Car Racing Club, the pre-83 and pre-66 touring cars. Pre-83 sponsored by Orange Aero and pre-66 by Pultec Classic Race Engines. They'll have their second race of the weekend after the lunch break. Yesterday it was the 10 times champion Stephen Primet who started his title defence with a win, but he didn't have things all his own way. A good run by Will Davison's BMW E30 was challenging for victory. They swapped the lead several times. The pre-66s, it was Canadian Pete Holford in his Ford Mustang who took the victory in that split. So that's all coming up later on. Touring cars of all ages, but the first race of the day is going to be the first of three today for the Britcar Prototype Cup. First of all, there will be two short 25-minute races, and then later on at the end of the programme we'll have a 50-minute pit stop race with all but one car, I believe, yes, have two drivers. Some quality drivers in the Pragas today, and we'll introduce some of them to you very shortly, because our intrepid pit reporter Ian Waterhouse is down in the assembly area to talk to one or two of the drivers ahead of start time.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Silverstone Day 2 here for what is going to be a very wet morning. As you can see now, it's time for the Britcar Prototype Cup, as you can see behind me. Oh my word, don't these look absolutely sensational. Let's have a quick walk around, shall we? We've got the number 77 car alongside. It's Charles Hall who's in this one. Over here, let's go have a quick chat. We've got Ruben Stanislas or Rodolfo Gonzalez in this car. I wonder if we can just have a quick chat and just say hello. Good morning, how are you this morning? How was qualifying yesterday in this machine?
Yeah, it was pretty good. I mean, it was probably the first few laps, decent laps I've had in this car ever. Because I hadn't raced in 8 years, so it was nice to get some dry running with no traffic, no red flags, and you know, I was just piecing things together. You know, in the end there was more time in myself, but yeah, I'm happy with the job we did.
Do you like the rain? Is the question.
No, but it is what it is, so I have to do it driving the rain.
Best of luck, thanks for talking to us, we really do appreciate it. Let's just get the camera in. I just want to have a quick look at the cockpit in there. Look how tight and snug it is. It's like a fighter pilot in there, isn't he? That's Rodolfo Gonzalez we've just spoken to, that Indianola Motorsport. Yesterday, the cars, the Britcar Prototype Cup cars, they were the first cars to do sub 2 minutes. Ex-Formula 1 tester there, Rodolfo Gonzalez. Let's keep moving down a little bit. Over here, we've got the number 11. This is the University of Wolverhampton car as well. Shane Kelly, Jess Hawkins piloting that one. What's going to happen today for this race, because of the rain, we're going to have 2 green flag laps just to make sure that the track is clear, the drivers are comfortable. There is quite a bit of standing water. It's the GP circuit as well, so it's a long way round. 3.661 miles in total. Wow, there's a lot of track to cover, isn't there? As we said before, pole position time, Charles Hall, Scott Mitchell. It's Charles Hall actually in the car right now, 1:57.844. The first time we saw sub 2 minutes yesterday, start of the season for BARC, of course. And back here as well, we have the number 4 Ben Stone, Teddy Wilson piloting this one. Which is your favourite? Red's my favourite colour. Doesn't it look good? Yes, it does. Let's get ourselves back up a little bit further forward, shall we? Let's listen to these cars firing up. This is just idling right now. If you're watching this, get the volume turned up right now. Have a little listen. Not allowed to do that. Let's keep going forward, shall we? Let's go back to the front, shall we? Everybody getting themselves ready. The rain is coming down. It is going to be exciting, of course. The Britcar Prototype Cup almost about to get underway. Lights out at 9 o'clock this morning. What are we now? We are 10 minutes or so away. Not too long to go. Right, almost time. I'm going to hand back to Dave and take it away, Dave. It's going to be a cracking race, this one. I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yes, thanks very much indeed, Ian. So a quick preview of the grid there for our first Britcar Prototype Cup race of the season, the first ever Britcar Prototype Cup event. We saw the Praga Cup run as a standalone championship last season, of course, but now we're going to see maybe 1 or 2 cars join them. Numbers will grow as the season goes on. It's very much a case of quality over quantity this weekend. Some very good drivers indeed in our field for our first 3 races of the season. 2 25-minute races to kick off the season. Second of them coming up at around 11:45 this morning, as long as things run to schedule. Those with 2 drivers, cars with 2 drivers, will have the drivers do 1 race each, the 2 25-minute sprints, and then they will join up for the pit stop race at the end of the programme, the 50-minute race. The grid for our first race reads as follows. It's the number 77 Mittel Cars machine on pole. The Praga R1, that will be driven in this race by Charles Hall. Scott Mittel will drive in race 2, the team boss. Alongside him will be the number 18 Idola Motorsports car, and that's the Venezuelan Rodolfo Gonzalez, who will drive in this race. Ruben Stanislaus takes over for race 2. The second row, number 11, the University of Wolverhampton car. It's Jess Hawkins, one of Britain's leading female racing drivers, will drive in this race. Shane Kelly, who we saw in that car last season, takes over for the second race. Alongside Jess is number 14, which is Chris Bridle. He will take the first drive in the second Idola Motorsport car. Will Stowell will drive in race 2. And the third row, number 4, which is the TGM with private leads run Praga R1. Teddy Wilson drives in this race. Ben Stone will drive in race 2, and completing the entry, the number 3 DW Racing car. That's the only non-Praga we've got on this grid. That is a Radical SR3 RSX. John Davis, the driver in all 3 races. He's driving solo this weekend. So a 25-minute race coming up then on a very wet and slippery Silverstone. We saw the rain arrive towards the end of yesterday's programme. It arrived during the last couple of classic touring car racing club events, making the track decidedly slippery. It was the pre-93 and 03 and the super touring cars that copped the worst of the rain shower yesterday afternoon. But it looks like the rain has set in for today, but then again, this is Silverstone. As we said yesterday, it does have its own microclimate, this circuit. It could be bright sunshine by the end of this 25-minute race. The course car just going around on an exploratory lap. We are on the full Grand Prix layout here at Silverstone this weekend. Just looking down the Sir Lewis Hamilton straight there, you can see the puddles on the inside on the run into Abbey Curve past the Formula 1 pits. It's the other pit complex that's being used this weekend, though, up at the run between Woodcote and Copse, the heritage pits as they're known. We see the pit wall there. As Ian has mentioned, there will be 2 laps behind the safety car to start this race, just to allow the drivers to get used to the conditions. Qualifying was held yesterday and it was in the dry. It was a fairly close qualifying session, just looking at the times. Charles Hall and Scott Mittel were quickest, but only by 0.65 of a second over Rodolfo Gonzalez and Ruben Stanislaus. You may recognise Ruben Stanislaus from a programme aired on BBC television over the winter. He appeared in Born to Race, along with his fellow karting graduate Luis Apigi. They raced in the Adola Motorsport Praga last season at Donington Park and put in a pretty useful performance at the season finale. Of course, the Praga Cup won last year by Gordie Much and Jimmy Broadbent, but not on the grid for this opening season. Hopefully, we will see the team back later this year. They may be moving on to pastures new for the 2023 season. So grid sizes will grow as the season goes on with various new prototypes. We are hoping to have some LMP3 cars on the grid for later this season, the likes of the French-built Ligier and Norma LMP3s. We saw the LMP3 Cup a couple of years ago, of course. Very impressive machinery indeed. I would love to see some of those out with the Praga Cup cars. An interesting comparison between the two. Great to have Jess Hawkins on the grid as well. We've seen her in the British Touring Car Championship and also in TCR UK. She had a win in TCR UK at Alton Park at the beginning of 2022. She's also done a fair amount of stunt driving with the likes of Fast and the Furious Live. Even in James Bond films, we've seen Jess Hawkins as a stunt driver. She teams up with Shane Kelly, the former F3 Cup champion, who's been very successful over the last couple of years with the University of Wolverhampton car, the car run by their motorsport engineering students based in the West Midlands. Good university, that, Wolverhampton. I'm told it produces good motorsport commentators as well. Mentioned Ruben Stanislaus. We'll see him out in race 2. It's his teammate Rodolfo Gonzalez who takes the wheel for this one, and he is a very big name indeed to watch here. He began racing cars in the UK. He was born in Venezuela in South America and began his career in car racing while studying in the UK. And in 2013 was the test and reserve driver for the Marussia Formula 1 team. One of only a couple of Venezuelans to have appeared at the highest level of motorsport over the years. He's also appeared in IndyCar a few years back with the Dale Coyne racing team, contested 6 IndyCar races in his career. We've not seen him regularly on track for a few years. About 5 years ago we saw him in the NASCAR Wheel and Euro Series. So he's a very versatile racer, is Rodolfo Gonzalez. And he'll start as one of the favourites here, but we'll see how he copes with the conditions. The Porsche Cayenne course car there, just doing an exploratory lap. Coming through the Beckett's complex, that magnificent sequence of corners at the top end of the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit before the cars head onto the Hanger Straight and down towards the fast sweep of Stowe Corner. Chris Bridle in the Adola Motorsport car. The Bridle twins not racing together at this round. Normally we see Chris and Ed Bridle sharing the number 14 car. They were number 84 last season. Chris began his career racing karts at Buckmore Park, one of Britain's top kart circuits down in Kent, just near Brands Hatch. And there is the safety car. Evelyn Buanek, the former BMW racer, at the wheel of the safety car this weekend. And Charles Hall it is who leads them out then, ready for the rolling starts. There's the Radical at the back of the field, the DW racing car of John Davis. Certainly stands out alongside the Pragas, doesn't it? And it looks like it's in a lookalike of the old John Player Special livery, that car. That's powered by a 1300cc Suzuki Hayabusa motorcycle engine, the SR3 RSX model of the Radical. SR3 RSX, there he is at the back of the field. They'll try to keep up with the Pragas. The wet conditions should level things up a little here. Radical is 243 horsepower. The Pragas, at least 350 horsepower from their 2-litre turbocharged Renault engines, weighing just 643 kilograms. It should be a fairly evenly matched field. Morning to everybody tuning in on YouTube. Hello to Dave Hill, Tom Watts, Paul B. Morning from Derby. Paul Danino. Correct, Tom Watts. The two driver teams, each driver will do one of the 25-minute races and then share the 50-minute race. You're spot on there. Hi to Hasbox, who's watching from trackside, hopefully keeping dry. Hi to Alistair Cummings, watching in Wales. And Sam says, best place to spectate anyone? Well, you're in the best place to spectate right here on BARC TV. Evelyn Buanek at the wheel of the safety car, as you mentioned. She raced for many years in the Kumho Tyres BMW Championship, which will kick off its season in just a couple of weeks' time. We'll be covering them on BARC TV this year. Last saw her race about 10 years ago, Evelyn, at Cadwell Park. Good morning to Lewis Bassindale up in Newcastle. And hi to Liam Redford as well. Steve Tarrant watching from Dorset. It's good to see plenty of you tuning in on YouTube despite the time difference with the clocks moving forward. And our apologies if any of you were watching yesterday for a few technical problems with our live stream. Those fingers crossed have been ironed out for today. Yes, we did miss some of the last race yesterday, the pre-66 and pre-83 touring car race, due to a few technical problems with our stream, but we will bring you that during the lunch break later on. So it's awaiting the all clear. Waiting for the clock to roll round to 9 AM. It does so. And the safety car leads them off. So there will be 2 laps behind the safety car. It's Charles Hall, number 77, in the Mittel Cars machine in pole position. They were the championship runners-up last year, and they won the prize car, a brand new Praga R1. Because, of course, it was a factory Praga car that won the title. Charles Hall at the wheel in the green and black machine. He's raced single-seaters successfully over in the USA in the past, appeared in the Toyota Atlantic Championship a few years ago, was hoping to graduate to Indy Lights, effectively the rung on the ladder just below IndyCar racing, but sadly never did appear there. Came back to race in the UK. And the Rodolfo Gonzalez, who made it to IndyCar with Dale Coyne Racing, starts alongside. That's a pretty impressive front row. Jess Hawkins on row 2. Former W Series competitor, has competed in the top level of touring cars in the UK. She's in the University of Wolverhampton car, the blue and white car. Gonzalez in the silver car with the Dayglow yellow stripes. Second row of the grid completed by Chris Bridle. And over to Will Stowell, the former European karting star for race 2. This should be a fairly close encounter. Teddy Wilson on row 3, former kart champion and now a racing instructor, making his Praga debut, his prototype cup debut, as the safety car heads them through the club complex. John Davis at the back in the Radical. If he finds some success here, hopefully it will encourage more Radical racers and similar cars to join this series. A whole variety of prototypes are eligible, and we will see grid sizes grow as the season goes on. Look how wet it is down there at Abbey Curve, just past the Formula 1 pits. They then head up to Farm and Village. There's the left-hander at Farm, the right at Village. A lot of standing water on the inside there as well. Driver's going to have to be very careful in the early laps of this 25-minute race. The left-hander at the Loop. That continues into Aintree on the exit, named after the former home of the British Grand Prix. Not just the Grand National, cars have raced at Aintree as well back in the 50s and 60s. Occasional sprint events are still held there. And then it's down the Wellington Straights, named because Wellington bombers flew from Silverstone in the Second World War. Past the BRDC, British Racing Drivers Club clubhouse, and then into the left-hander at Brooklands, named after Britain's first motor racing circuit down in Surrey. Then into the double right-hander at Luffield, up towards Woodcote Corner, and the end of the lap. There's the number 4 car of Teddy Wilson, the red machine. Certainly stands out in these damp conditions. John Davis in the Radical at the back, the John Player Special lookalike. It's the livery made so famous by Team Lotus in the 1970s in Formula 1. Now the countdown has started, the clock has started, 25 minutes. An additional lap behind the safety car. So as the safety car starts, the Ford Focus heads them into the right-hander at Copse Corner. Very easy to run wide there. Then it's up this little rise, up to the left flick of Maggots, and then into the Beckett's complex. Charles Hall leading them round. Pack should be unleashed next time by for the first ever Britcar Prototype Cup race. Superb sequence of bends here at Beckett's. The right, the left, the right, then into the left flick of Chapel Curve and onto the Hanger Straights. Just look at the spray. Visibility is certainly going to be an issue in the early laps. Not for Charles Hall if he can stay in front. I suspect we're going to see the car that gets the break at the start build up quite a lead at the start over the first lap or two. Down to Stowe Corner. Very daunting right-hander. And that's just in dry conditions. Absolutely treacherous. Look at the spray. Prototype Cup not really replacing the Praga Cup, as some have suggested. The Praga Cup running as a class within the Prototype Cup. It's nice to see a little more mixed grid. We We will see more cars come in. I know we've got 1 or 2 LMP3 cars waiting in the wings. It's a big year for prototype racing internationally, with the new hypercar rules in the World Endurance Championship attracting a lot of major manufacturers. Toyota, Ferrari, Porsche, Cadillac and more. Of course, this year is the centenary of the most famous race of them all, the Le Mans 24 Hours. Almost time to get underway then, with this safety car start. Who's going to be our first ever winner of a Britcar Prototype Cup race? Chris Bridle there in the white car behind Jess Hawkins, just weaving to keep the tyres warm. Ooh, getting a bit close there. Not to weave around too much, we don't want contact before the race has properly got underway. John Davis keeping up in the radical. Oh, and he spun it! Oh, using a bit too much. That shows you how treacherous it is. John Davis spins the radical before green flag racing has even got underway. He'll be playing catch up from there as the safety car unleashes them. Up towards the start line they come. It's time to go racing here at Silverstone with the Britcar Prototype Cup. Red lights go out and we are underway. Down towards Copse Corner they go. And it is Charles Hall who's just about held his lead. Jess Hawkins moving to the inside. Everybody else lost in the spray. Rodolfo Gonzalez up there in second, the Venezuelan, as they tiptoe their way around Copse Corner. Look at this, you can't see anything. Except, well, the only exception is Charles Hall. He's out in front in the number 77 Mittel Cars entry. Jess Hawkins going through for second on the run into Beckett's Corner for the first time. Third place, it's Rodolfo Gonzalez. Those three have broken away slightly from fourth place. The number 4 car of Teddy Wilson. Chris Bridle dropping back into fifth position in the white number 14. John Davis, after his spin just before we went to full green racing, playing catch up in the radical. Down into the right-hander at Stowe Corner. It's Charles Hall that leads. Jess Hawkins in second. Gonzalez in third place. They're just tiptoeing their way around these great rooster tails of spray being thrown up behind the cars. Looks more like powerboat racing than prototype racing at the moment. Gonzalez at the inside into club, and he goes through into second place on the brakes. Good move by Rodolfo Gonzalez. A bit of a twitch there from Chris Bridle in fifth place. Hawkins fighting back there side by side out of club corner. John Davis trying to catch up in the radical. The rain could prove a leveller for him. The radical, as you mentioned, not as powerful as the Pragas. Up towards Abbey, you can hardly see them in there. Gonzalez has held second place in his battle with Jess Hawkins and the University of Wolverhampton car, but it is Charles Hall for Mittel Cars who leads the way. Founded by Charles's co-driver Scott Mittel, initially competed for a couple of other clubs in his first self-built prototype sports cars. Look at the handling there, understeering its way through the loop, then snapping to oversteer, handling like a hovercraft there as they come through the loop and into Aintree. So much skill being demanded here from these drivers. Hall leads Gonzalez, and somewhere in there is Jess Hawkins. There she is in the University of Wolverhampton car, chasing Gonzalez for Idola Motorsports. Through Brooklands they come. It'll be Charles Hall who leads across the line. Slightly a shortened race with the extra green flag lap. Wipers flailing as they head out of Woodcote Corner up towards the line. First three still breaking away very slightly. The lead gap just under 1.5 seconds. Then 1.8 seconds back to Hawkins in third. Wilson is fourth. Bridle fifth. The 5 Pragas covered by 8.5 seconds at the moment. Waiting for John Davis to come through. He has not shown as having crossed the line yet. I hope we haven't lost the radical early on. Whether he's had a spin somewhere, we've not seen. He comes across the line now. Yes, he's some 22 seconds down on the fifth place car of Bridle. So I reckon he must have had another moment somewhere at the back of the field, somewhere hidden in the spray. Down to Stowe Corner it is Charles Hall who still leads from Rodolfo Gonzalez in second place. Jess Hawkins up there in third, running brilliantly on her Prague Cup debut. There's the Radical coming through Beckett's. See the water at the front air dam on that car is pushing aside. This is going to be a struggle for John Davis, and of course he's in an open cockpit, so he's struggling perhaps more than most with the conditions. What's that crossing the road? Is that a fox? It is. Well, we've seen rabbits occasionally on the grass verges here at Silverstone, but I've never seen that before. Luckily, John Davis able to dodge the wildlife there. As the leaders head into the loop and to entry. Up towards Brooklands go the leaders once again to complete the second full race lap, if you like, of this race. Charles Hall continues to set the pace, twitching his way through Brooklands there, taking a slightly wider line. There's Rodolfo Gonzalez in second place. 2013, it was the test and reserve driver for the now defunct Marussia Formula One team. He's twitching about there as they come out of Brooklands. Drove in a few Friday free practice sessions, and he has competed on about, I think it was 3 Grand Prix weekends that the Venezuelan took part in. The gap about the same as they cross the line this time. Fastest lap of the race recorded by Charles Hall. 2:28.133. Now, how does that compare to qualifying in the dry yesterday? Yeah, they were under 2 minutes yesterday, so that shows you how treacherous it is. They're about 30 seconds down on their qualifying times. There's Hawkins in the background. She slides her way through Beckett's. Bridle has got through into 4th position further back. He's got ahead of Teddy Wilson. Still got our Fox playing around on the hanger straight. This could be dodgy. He needs to get out of the way there, especially as Rodolfo Gonzalez was thinking about a pass there. You do not want to be hitting wildlife at that speed, especially in these mainly carbon fibre constructed cars. There's John Davis, just coming round now to complete his second lap. Yes, the Radical with that distinct power disadvantage to the Praguers. I thought the rain might prove a bit of a leveller, but not the case, unfortunately, and John is a long way back, just keeping it on the island, getting some laps in. He will win his class, of course, the only non-Praga in the race. Charles Hall continues to lead, and if anything, Gonzalez, I think, has closed in slightly on this lap. See as they cross the line. Up towards Brooklands they go once again. Charles Hall, the ex-Toyota Atlantic racer, great season he had with Scott Mittel last year, leads Rodolfo Gonzalez. See what the gap is this time. We'll see what the gap is back to Jess Hawkins as well. Hall runs a little bit wide through Luffield, so does Gonzalez, looking for the best possible line in these conditions. You don't want to go through the standing water. Over the line go the two Pragas leading the pack, and the gap has come down a little because Gonzalez just on the fastest lap of the race, 2:25.793, so they're getting a little more used to these conditions now. We've still got 13 and a half or so minutes of this race to go. There'll be a short break from race action after this race for qualifying for the Britcar Trophy, over 20 minutes. Well, Gonzalez a bit wide there, he kicks up a bit of mud coming through Beckett's. He got a wheel over the curb there. He saved it, he's still second. There's John Davis. He's keeping his Radical on the road. Radical recently announced they were moving to a new base at Donington Park this year. They've been based in Peterborough since the company was founded back in 1997 by racers Mick Hyde and Phil Abbott, moving to their new base at Donington soon. There is Teddy Wilson in the number 4. He's in 5th place. He's dropped back a bit from Chris Bridle. Now there's Bridle in the white car, like a ghost through the spray. Looks like our friend the Fox has vacated the circuit, thankfully. Here come your leaders down these Sir Lewis Hamilton straights. Wouldn't it be great to see Sir Lewis out in one of these Pragas? I know he was mentoring one of the drivers that we've got here today, Ruben Stanislaus, last season, and his running mate Lewis Apigi when they appeared at Donington. One car sounding a bit rough there in the background. We'll keep an ear to that. 2 leaders now going clear of Jess Hawkins in 3rd. Up towards Brooklands they go once again. Hopefully we'll see the circuit begin to dry out as the day goes on. Well, Gonzalez going very wide there into Brooklands, trying a different line. He's done the fastest lap of the race. He got the gap down to 1.255 seconds last time through. Let's see if he's any closer to Charles Hall this time. Charles Hall with the much more experience of the Praga. He and Chris Bridle, the most experienced men in these cars in this race. The gap has stayed about the same. Quickest to 2nd and 3rd sectors of the race from Gonzalez. Hawkins does her personal best lap with a 2:25.893. Here's Chris Bridle. Over the line he goes. Will Stowell will take over that car for race 2. It'll be Scott Mittel, the boss of Mittel Cars, who will drive the 77 in the second race, and Gonzalez car will be handed over to the aforementioned Ruben Stanislaus. He's in there somewhere, Rodolfo Gonzalez. There he is. It's a pall of spray as they head down into Stowe Corner once again. Just over 10 minutes to go. Such a shame the rain has hit here on opening day for the Britcar Prototype Cup. Pragas have been racing since the first Praga R1 was built back in 2012. Their test driver, the Dutchman Danny van Dongen, was the first man to drive a Praga R1 in anger. Praga, the Czech Republic-based company with all manner of different automotive interests, everything from carts to lorries. Even aircraft in the past have been built by Praga. A UK base up in Cheshire. Radical, as we mentioned, based in Peterborough. John Davis still going towards the back. Go the leaders down to Brooklands once again, and is Gonzalez close this time again? He takes that wider line through Brooklands. Is it working for him? Well, Hall did the fastest lap of the race last time through to increase the gap slightly, and John Davis off again. He is struggling in that Radical. Oh, 540 degree spin there. 5.9 for artistic interpretation, I think. Now, can he get going again? I hope he hasn't stalled the engine because he's at Beckett's. The lead gap has come down meanwhile. Gonzalez just at a 2:24.746. He's got the gap down to just over 3/4 of a second. But if the Radical is still there, yes, the yellow flags will be out at Beckett's. And they'll have to maybe dodge John Davis in the Radical if he hasn't got going again. Yeah, it looks like he has moved off. Didn't see him there. There he is, coming down the Hanger Straight. So he's going to be lapped fairly shortly by Charles Hall and Gonzalez. There's our friend the Fox on the left, watching from a safe distance now. I hope he's bought a ticket. Round Stowe go the leaders. a second in it last time through. There's Davis in the JDS liveried Radical, not JPS. Of course, Radical have run several one-make championships over the years. Radical Enduro and the Challenge, among other series, Pro Sport as well. Ideal stepping stone into sports car racing. If anything, the lead gap, I think, has increased slightly. As you can see, Gonzalez has dropped back a little. Now they've got back marker traffic to deal with. John Davis, hopefully he'll stay out of the way of the leaders here. He's giving away over 100 horsepower to the Pragas. It is a Suzuki Superbike engine Radical, 1300cc as opposed to the 2-litre Renault turbocharged engines of the Praga R1s, and he has been lapped there by Charles Hall. Still Hawkins in third place. She's about 8.5 seconds off the two leaders now, and Gonzalez. Oh, the leader's gone wide at Luffield. He's off. Charles Hall trying to get going again. Gonzalez goes through into the lead. Now, what's happened there? Maybe he just hit some standing water into Luffield. Disaster for Charles Hall. He's down to second. And Rodolfo Gonzalez takes it up for Idola Motorsports. There's Hall in second. Now, how far behind is he? 6.3 seconds, so he's lost about 7 seconds there, and you can see him sliding about there. He's now going to start pushing to try and catch up. How long's left? Just over 6 minutes of this Britcar Prototype Cup race. As away goes Rodolfo Gonzalez in the lead. Hawkins still third. Now, could she catch Hall for second place here? They're well clear of Chris Bridle in fourth. He's about 15 seconds further back. Gonzalez now in the clear. There's Hall in second. And where's Hawkins? There she is. Coming up to lap the Radical. Almost eerie, isn't it? Looking through the rain and the spray down the Hanger Straight there. The effect of these very bright headlights. There's the number 4. That's Teddy Wilson, and he's catching Chris Bridle. So we could have a battle developing for fourth place here. It took nearly 1.5 seconds out of him on the previous lap. Chris Bridle, the karting graduate. Likewise, Teddy Wilson, twitching about there through Stowe. So hard to get the power down. If anything, I would say, looking above the grandstands there, the light is improving slightly. So the 5 minutes left for Rodolfo Gonzalez, looking for a win on his Praga debut. He's raced everything over the years. Never did start a Grand Prix. Has done testing, interfered in free practice. As well as his IndyCar appearances, he raced in Formula Acceleration 1, the short-lived series representing Venezuela. He's competed in GP2 for the Arden team, as well as Charles Hall runs wide again. He's trying a bit too hard, I think, to catch up there. Gonzalez, one appearance at Le Mans as well for the Murphy Prototypes team. Last raced regularly in 2017 for the NASCAR, in the NASCAR Wheel and Euro Series for Alex Caffey's team. The Italian 1980s and early 90s Formula One driver. Performed heroics in the BMS Delaras. Charles Hall. Also raced in America, as we mentioned. Never did make it up the IndyCar ladder, though, sadly. He did race in the Toyota Atlantic Championship. Effectively the third tier of American single-seater racing for many years. Used to be known as Formula Atlantic. There's the battle for fourth. They're separated by 1.36 seconds, Bridle and Wilson. Just a couple more laps to go now. Hall has done the fastest lap of the race, 2:23.552. He's got the gap down to 4 seconds now. Now, how much quicker was that? That was over 2 seconds quicker than Gonzalez, so it's going to be close between these two if Hall can catch back up. He doesn't want to push too hard, though, and risk making a mistake. Here's the fight for fourth. Bridle from Wilson. John Davis in the Radical has been lapped, as we've seen. Hopefully it'll be drier for the second drivers for each of these cars. Well, for each of the Pragers, because John Davis on his own. He'll drive in all 3 races. There go the leaders. Up towards Village. There's Gonzalez. There's Hall. We'll see if the gap is coming down this time around. And the doors come open on Charles Hall's car. Now, has that come open by itself, or is his windscreen steaming up and he's trying to clear it? I wonder. That is a problem sometimes. I remember many years ago Rickard Rydell at Brands Hatch having to pull out of the lead of a touring car race because he couldn't see where he was going in the Volvo. Maybe Charles Hall's having problems seeing and he's opened the door to try and let some air in and clear the windscreen a bit. Has he got the gap down? We're going into the final lap this time. The gap was 4 seconds. As Hall comes across the line, we'll see what it is down to. It's down to 2.8 seconds. So even if Hall pushes on here, I reckon he's just going to come up short. Look at the understeer there. As the car slides its way through, snaps to oversteer on the exits. Charles Hall is pushing here. He's taking some risks. Lost a bit of time there coming through cops. The car he's throwing that car around all over the place. He's just hanging on. No grip there at all. There you can see the back trying to come round on him coming out of Beckett's. Hawkins is still third. She's 6.3 seconds back. Did her personal best lap that time through, 2:25.24. Likewise Bridle, 2:25.439. Door still bubbling open on the 77. There's Davis in the Radical, just keeping it going. No door problems for him because he hasn't got any doors. He's an open cockpit. He must be absolutely drenched in there. Clock counting down as the leaders come along the Hamilton straight for the final time. It's looking good for Idola Motorsports and Rodolfo Gonzalez. Not sure a Venezuelan driver has ever won at Silverstone before. Have to check whether Pastor Maldonado won here in his GP2 days. I'm sure Johnny Cicotto has won in motorcycles in years gone by. Venezuela's greatest motorsport personality. So are we about to find another one, because Gonzalez down to Brooklands for the last time. There's Hall in second. He's not going to catch him. And the first ever Britcar prototype Cup race is going to be won by the number 18 Praga R1 of Idola Motorsports. Up over the line comes Rodolfo Gonzalez, wins at Silverstone. Charles Hall will come over in second, some 4.5 seconds down at flagfall. And third place will be Jess Hawkins in the University of Wolverhampton car. She's 5 seconds further back. Fourth place, fairly close together these two were for most of the way, is going to go to Chris Bridle in the number 14 for Idola Motorsports. And just behind him, 2.6 seconds back, Teddy Wilson in the number 4, the TGM with Private Leeds car, TGM Tim Gray Motorsports. And here comes John Davis in the only non-Praga, the Radical SR3 RSX, the John Davis special. Couple of spins, but he's going to make it home. A soaking wet John Davis, no doubt. Didn't have the luxury of a covered cockpit. He comes up over the line, finishes a lap behind. But at least he'll get another chance in race 2. And then the pit stop race, of course, later on. Well, that concludes the first ever Britcar Prototype Cup race then. Congratulations, Rodolfo Gonzalez, completing 9 racing laps in a time of 25 minutes 42.804 seconds. Finishing 4.588 seconds clear of Charles Hall in the Mittel Cars machine. He got the fastest lap of the race, Charles Hall, 2:23.552. Third place, representing the University of Wolverhampton, was Jess Hawkins, 9.6 seconds off the race winner, 5 seconds off Charles Hall. She did her best lap on the final lap of the race, 2:24.796. Best lap for Gonzalez was 2:24.453. Rodolfo Gonzalez adds another string to his very varied racing career. GP2, Formula 1 reserve driver, IndyCar driver, and much, much more besides that. And now he's a winner in the Prototype Cup. Charles Hall, a rather evil handling machine, as we saw. He was pushing hard to try and catch up. Has to settle for second place. Scott Mittel will take over that car for race 2. It'll be Ruben Stanislaus in the 18. There'll be a short break next up, because we have qualifying for the Britcar Trophy. The cars just about to make their way into Parc Fermé at the end of our first race of the day here at Silverstone. A very busy day it is indeed. And Ian Waterhouse will be down there to talk to a few of the drivers.
Yeah, welcome down everybody to a very happy Parc Fermé. As you can see, Rodolfo Gonzalez getting the first ever win in a Britcar Prototype Cup, and look at what it means for him as well. I'm sure I want to say a quick thank you to his team. We will hear from him as well. We've got Charles Hall over here and Jess Hawkins as well. Let's quickly grab him again. We spoke to you before the race, of course, in very difficult conditions, but you drew on all of that experience. Oh, that's nice to see, isn't it? And you made it count, didn't you? Capitalising on Charles running a bit wide there.
Yeah, I mean, he was really fast, and
you were catching him though. You were before he went off.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't get really past him because there was so much spray. So every time I was getting close, I lost a lot of visibility. Like, you literally couldn't see anything at all. So I was trying to stay off the line to try and be close enough. But I knew I had a little bit more pace, but it wasn't quite enough just to get past him. So I thought, you know, I'm just going to stay close because he seemed to be quite on the edge, and see if he made a mistake. But
and that's what happened, wasn't it? So it was just a case of finding your feet to get going.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't driven this car before in the wet. I haven't raced in 8 years. So for me, it was just like, all right, I'm going to take it easy, turn 1. On the start, you know, he squeezed me a little bit, and I thought, you know, fair enough. I'll just tuck in behind him. And then I just sat there and just try and wait for a mistake. I knew if I could be close enough, I had half a chance.
That's how you do it, turn up, win a race, eh? Well done, congratulations. I just really want to quickly just grab Charles Hall as well. I know they've got to go up to the podium, but Charles, very quickly, you must be freezing because your door looked like it wedged open there. What happened?
I don't know what happened with the door. Yeah, that let a draft in. But no, I'm just saying, we had a really good car for the rain on Friday, really good. But I don't know if that's just me being a bit optimistic, but I went for a slightly stiffer setup thinking it's going to actually dry out over 25 minutes. So, you know.
Got worse if anything, didn't it?
It did. But no, old laddie did well. Cause, I wasn't really making any mistakes. I was winning myself, and then I just dropped it. It just didn't just hook in, and just one of those really annoying wandered off the track. So I kept going, got second, but no, he drove well because he beat me.
Well, you're back out in the car later. You were closing as well in the late stage as well. I think you needed in the podium. Well done, congratulations anyway. Podium celebrations about to go underway. I think Jess has gone actually. If we go back, we'll be able to see. Hello, Claire. We'll be able to see the drivers coming onto the podium. Didn't get a chance to speak to Jess there, but incredible stuff indeed. They are actually, they're just waiting behind the scenes. I do believe we're going to get straight on to qualifying actually for Britcar Trophy. So I'm going to hand back to Dave to take you through that.
Okay, thanks very much to Ian down there. Good to hear from our race winner. Hopefully conditions will dry out a little later on. As we say, the lap speed's almost 30 seconds down compared to qualifying yesterday, as we see the podium presentations taking place. There is Jess Hawkins in third place. Second place for Charles Hall, some impressive trophies there. And there is Rodolfo Gonzalez. Gets the trophy, the winner's cap as well. Nope. Only drying out now. Don't drop your winnings, guys. Should really be hearing the Venezuelan national anthem now, shouldn't we, on the podium down there? Gary James, the circuit commentator, conducting the interviews. Good to see Gary there, an expert on superkart racing. I worked with Gary at trackside several times. Okay, so there will be a pause in proceedings now on our live coverage because we have the qualifying session coming up for the Britcar Trophy. It will be about 20 minutes, so once that session is complete, then we'll be back underway with classic touring car racing. We'll have the Edmondson Electrical Classic Thunder Saloons, the Burton Power Blue Oval Saloon Series for everything Ford, and the Jaguars as well, the Berkshire Jag Components Jaguar Challenge. Mike Seaborn racing the XK8 for the first time, took the win there yesterday. In Blue Oval Saloons, it was the Welshman Mike Manning in his gorgeous Texaco liveried Sierra Cosworth. An overall win went to Jason West. I believe Jason will be carrying one of our onboard cameras in his BMW as well. Then we'll have the second set for the Classic Touring Car Racing Club. 25-minute races for them today. The Pre-93 touring cars sponsored by Laser Tools, and the Pre-03 touring cars sponsored by Bertie Haulage. Sadly, we won't see the Super Touring cars. A couple of them had problems yesterday, and Jason Hughes in the Vauxhall Vectra has elected not to risk his car in these conditions, we're told. So Jason will see back out later in the season, the former Classic Thunder champion. There are plenty more Super Touring cars waiting in the wings to race later in the summer, though, when conditions improve. After that, we will see the second Prototype Cup race, which is another 25-minute race. We'll introduce you to the other half of the field in the Praga Cup, effectively. Then we'll have the first Britcar Trophy race, 50-minute race with a mandatory pit stop. I think the pit window only 10 minutes in the middle of that race. That'll be a bit frantic. Then we'll have the lunch break, and then it's our second Pre-66 and Pre-83 touring car race. Yesterday, the Pre-66 touring car, sponsored by Pultec Race Engines, won by the Ford Mustang of Pete Holford. Alan Greenall was up there as well in his Ford Falcon. Plenty of Lotus Cortinas, Ford Anglias, Hillman Imps, Minis, Morris Minors, Austin A40s, going all the way back to the early days of touring car racing in the UK. And also out there, of course, the Pre-83 Group 1 touring car sponsored by Orange Aero. Stephen Primet's looking for yet another win, but Will Davison gave him a run for his money in his BMW yesterday, and those two should be battling for the overall victory once again. Also look out for Jonathan Corker in the little Datsun 510. Had some gearbox problems yesterday, so hoping to rectify those. And then to close out the day, after lunch, we will have a second race for the Britcar Trophy, and then our long race for the Prototype Cup, the 50-minute endurance race with mandatory pit stops and driver changes there. That's all coming up a little later on then, as the marshals sweep some of the standing water and debris off the circuit. Full credit to our volunteer marshals, as always. We cannot go racing without them. Braving the conditions today, the Orange family as we call them. Thank you to all of them. If you're interested in becoming a marshal, have a look on the BARC website at barc.net to find out how you can volunteer. You can also join the British Motorsport Marshals Club, marshals.co.uk. Here's the website address if you want to volunteer and get up close to the action in British motorsports. So shortly it will be a qualifying session for the Britcar Trophy over 20 minutes. We'll rejoin you when that is complete. Well, qualifying well and truly in progress for the Britcar Trophy then. Using the first half of that session to get a roll call of who is present and correct. Currently quickest is one of the numerous Ginetta G56s we've got in the field, and just as I start talking to you, the red flag has come out. Gives me a chance to run through the times. Quickest is the number 47 Ginetta of Maurizio Silio, ahead of number 111, a winner in the Britcar Trophy over the last couple of seasons, the Dayton Motorsport Ginetta of Axel van Nederveen. The BMW M3 in third of Callum Noble, the Thorny Motorsports run car, run by former British touring carman John Thorne. Fourth quickest, number 23, Simon Clark in his Porsche 997. And fifth fastest is the Class 2 Alfa Romeo, the 57, Barry McMahon and Paul Plant, the Derek McMahon Racing Alfa Romeo Giulietta, not in the 156 that Barry normally races this weekend. Former Alfa Romeo Championship winner. Sixth quickest, number 49, Will Stacey in the Rob Boston Racing Lotus Elise. That car had a win at Donington last season, had a couple of wins actually. Seventh quickest is the number 2 car, Julian Watling and Jim Edwards in the Ginetta G55 GTA for Assetto Motorsport. Jim Edwards, the father of Jade Edwards, the British touring car racer. Eighth quickest is the first of the Renault Clio class cars, Travis Coyne for Dragon Sports. Of course, we saw Dragon Sport out yesterday in the British Endurance Championship. Sadly, cooling issues put their Opel Astra TCR car out of the race. Reece Lloyd looking to bounce back here. He's in the number 66 Clio, sharing with Jack Meakin. There's the 111, that's Axel van Nederveen, second quickest, but the red flag has come out with 8 minutes of the session to go. We know not why at the moment. Completing the top 10 in the field, the number 42 Ginetta, that is Jade Edwards, sharing with Mike West. So some of Britain's top female racers here this weekend. We've already seen Jess Hawkins, Jade Edwards out there, and you can see at the bottom of your screen at the moment, Abby Eaton getting ready to race Father Paul's Holden Commodore in the classic Thunder Saloons. Completing the top 10 is Lloyd and Meakin's Clio at the moment. But the rain has mixed the order up somewhat in this qualifying session. Unusual to see Jasvir Sapra and Brian Bransom's BMW out of the top 10, for example. They're down at 12th. So David May and Mark Skeets, the Irish pairing in their Nissan 370Z. Paul Fullick and Ty Matherin in their BMW for Team Brit. They didn't have much luck with their McLaren in the British Endurance Championship yesterday, so hoping for better fortunes here. Also a warm welcome back to Sarah Franklin, locally based racer. She's in the Clio that Charlie Hannon finished second in the championship with last year, sharing with Mike Bowman. Saw that car have a spin earlier on. So track action currently halted. We're not sure of the reason why just at the moment. Presumably somebody's gone off into the gravel somewhere. Try and pick that up when we can. Look at our next race moving into line in the assembly area. Edmondson Electrical Classic Thunder Saloons, the Blue Oval Saloon sponsored by Burton Power, and you can see the Jags down there towards the back, a few XJSs, the Berkshire Jag Components Jaguar Challenge. You can see David Ringham's XJS, also Tom Lenthal. And the green one is Rick Walker, the Lean Green Racing Machine as it's called. Had a bit of a shunt in that car at Alton Park last season. The Owen father and son pairing, the blue and yellow Sierra Cosworth is Craig Owen, and his son AJ in the Honda Civic. I think we've gone green once again. whatever the hazard was has been cleared from the Silverstone circuit by our excellent marshalling team. So we'll take you through the last few minutes of qualifying for the Britcar Trophy, and then be back to racing with our classic touring car racing club grid. One car that we're told won't be on the grid, unfortunately for this one, is Neil Philpotts in the Mitsubishi Starion. He has withdrawn from our next race, had some problems yesterday. Qualifying to be completed first of all for the Britcar Trophy. They have two 50-minute races today. With a 10-minute pit window in the middle. Renault Clio's galore. We've got, I think, 9 of those in their own dedicated category. Ginetta G40s have their own class. There's one of the Ginetta G40s, the green and white number 13 there, Brendan Hafner. Only a couple of those in the class today, the other being Alex Turnbull of SVG Motorsport. There's the Nissan 370Z, David May and Mark Skeets, the ex-BMW racers. But it's number 47, Maurizio Sciglio, who is quickest in his Ginetta G56. We've seen a few wins for Ginetta in the series in the past. He's ahead of Axel van Nederveen by only 3/4 of a second. And he's just 0.04 of a second ahead of Callum Noble's BMW. There's one of the Honda Civics, that's the 83. That's the Cook family, they're in Class 2 this season. Slightly different class structure this year, Classes 1 and 2. Class 1 for the GT cars, Class 2 for the more saloon-based machines. Class G40 is the Ginetta G40s, as the name suggests, and then a separate class for Renault Clios. In Class 1 we've got Ginettas, BMW M3s, Porsches, the Mazda RX-8 of Johnny McGregor and Josh Tomlinson, the MacG Racing, the Mazda RX-87 as they call it, the rotary engine car. There's the 47, that's our pace setter at the moment, with a 2:36.435, the Datum Motorsports Ginetta. The team has the 1-2 at the moment, with Axel van Nederveen currently on the provisional front row. 5 minutes of the session to go. Keep an eye on Will Stacey in the Lotus, looking to improve. There's the Ford Fiesta, charging through on the inside there. The number 37, Jack Watts and Josh Poulin, run by BPC Motorsport. That's Burntwood Performance Centre, based in South Staffordshire. Jack Watts has raced alongside his father Mark and brother Josh. Used to compete in BMW E30s in the production BMW Championship. They've done Citroen C1 endurance racing as well. They've got several C1s at their base in Staffordshire. Jack Watts sharing with Josh Poulin this weekend in the Fiesta ST180, the Turbo Fiesta. Where are they in the times currently? Down in 14th. The car we lost, I think, is Will Puttergill in his Honda Civic, number 183. That's shown as missing out on circuit. There's one of the VW Golfs, Rob Alec and Finn Jones for the TSR team. Their other Golf run by Mark Jones and Anthony Rogers this weekend. They're 17th. The 77 car, there's that in the classification, currently 20th. Ginetta's running together, the number 4 car gets out of the way, that's Marco Anastasi, the third of the Datum Motorsports cars. He's currently down in 13th. One of these cars running without headlights, that's brave in these conditions. You can hardly see where they are. 22 Clio there, Chris Bialan and Simon Mason. Chris, the ex-Lotus racer, among others. Porsche sliding its way through there. Simon Clark in the Form Evo Clark Racing Porsche 997 Carrera. He's currently 4th fastest. The Alfa Romeo Giulietta still there in 5th, McMahon and Plant. Then Will Stacey. It's an all Ginetta, an all Datum Motorsport Ginetta front row provisionally at the moment. Waiting to see any changes. Fastest of all in the second sector is the number 42 Ginetta. Jade Edwards must be on board that machine, sharing with Mike West. Let's see if that can go quickest. Now in 9th place at the moment, Jade Edwards and Mike West. Fastest of all in the second sector, 1:19.403. A new name to the top of the charts, Wallace and Astley, number 24. Ian Astley and Neil Wallace in their Ginetta G55 goes quickest. Watling and Edwards goes second, and now the Mazda RX-8 goes to the top. So changes from well down the order, bouncing to the top. That's Mazda hadn't got a flying lap in so far, but Johnny Mack, as he's known, and Josh Tomlinson now quickest, but only by 0.048 of a second. Watling and Edwards went fourth, while West and Edwards third. So the Edwards father and daughter pairing currently occupying the second row. Now Simon Clark goes fourth in the Porsche, 2:35.404. So it's McGregor and Tomlinson quickest. Is Celio going to respond? Yes, he is. 2:33.353. That's nearly a second quicker than everyone else. Great lap by 47 Maurizio Celio. Moving from further down the top 10 as he'd been bumped down to take provisional pole. Celio from McGregor and Tomlinson, Wallace and Astley, then West and Edwards, Clark, Watling and Edwards. There's our quickest man, Maurizio Celio, the yellow Ginetta. So Jim Edwards sharing with Julian Watling, daughter Jade with Mike West for Assetto Motorsports. They've been running Ginettas for a number of seasons now. Simon Traves has had some success with them. He's also raced Formula 1 stock cars, the current Scottish champion on the short ovals. Axel van Nederveen, who was second a few seconds ago, is now down to 7th. Callum Noble's BMW is 8th. Then Jasper Sapra and Brian Branson, and the McMahon and Plant Alfa Romeo rounds out the top 10. Alfa quickest in class 2. Celio still sits there in pole position. Callum Noble goes 5th. Lotus 8th. Will Stacey. Wallace and Astley quickest of all in sector 2. McGregor and Tomlinson fastest of all in sector 1. Now let's see if there's going to be any improvement from those two. Currently second and third, only separated by a few hundredths of a second, and they're nearly a second off Celio. Wallace and Astley go quickest, 2:30.862. The checkered flag comes out just after they completed that lap. I think no, they did take the checkered flag with their final lap, so positions chopping and changing. So Wallace and Astley currently quickest. Celio has yet to take the flag. McGregor and Tomlinson have completed their session. Well, Wallace and Astley 1.283 seconds quicker than anyone else at the moment. 2:30.862. Is it starting to dry out there? The Team Brit BMW goes through with its front splitter hanging off. West and Edwards go third. Jasper Sapra and Brian Branson into 4th place in their BMW. May now get bumped because Celio comes in. He goes second, doesn't quite manage to snatch pole, but he's onto the front row. Celio with a 2:31.343. All the leading runners there were galloping in a pack pretty much, trying to get the best possible track position. So it looks like it's going to be Neil Wallace and Ian Astley for SVG Motorsport who will take pole position for our first Britcar Trophy race of the day. Maurizio Celio will start second for Dayton Motorsport in his Ginetta. Just waiting to see if there's going to be any further change here. Callum Noble hasn't taken the flag yet, nor has Will Stacey in the Lotus Elise. Try and run you through as much of the grid as we can once the laps are completed. Over the line comes Will Stacey. Does he improve? No, he stays 9th. Callum Noble only 10th. That was a bit of a frantic end to that qualifying session for the Britcar Trophy Championship. Let's take a look at the provisional grid order then. Neil Wallace and Ian Astley will start on pole for SVG Motorsport in their Ginetta G55 Academy with a 2:30.862. Just under half a second ahead of Maurizio Silio in the Datum Ginetta, number 47, second on the grid. Third quickest, Johnny McGregor and Josh Tomlinson in the Mazda RX-8, 2:32.145. Fourth quickest, Mike West and Jade Edwards, Ginetta number 42 for Assetto Motorsports. Fifth fastest, Jasvir Sapra and Brian Bransom in the Intersport Racing BMW. Sixth quickest, number 23, Simon Clark with his Porsche 997. Seventh fastest, number 2, Julian Wantling and Jim Edwards in their Assetto Motorsport Ginetta. Eighth quickest, number treble 1, Axel van Nederveen in the Datum Motorsport Ginetta. Ninth fastest, the Lotus Elise of Will Stacey, the Rob Boston Racing Cup, number 49. And completing the top 10, number 19, Callum Noble in the Thorney Motorsports BMW. 11th quickest, McMahon and Plant in the Derek McMahon Racing Alfa Romeo, the Alfa Giulietta. 12th quickest, Reece Lloyd and Jack Meakin, the first of the Renault Clios. That Clio over 1.5 seconds clear of its nearest class rival in 13th place, number 92, Travis Coyne. 14th quickest is the first of the Golfs, number 7 of Mark Jones and Anthony Rogers for TSR in the VW Golf Mark 5. 15th quickest, the Team Brits BMW M240i of Fullick and Matherin. 16th fastest, the Renault Clio number 88, Andy Tucker and Ollie Meadows for Hyro Motorsports. 17th is the Watts and Poulan Ford Fiesta ST180, the Burton Performance Centre Cup. 18th quickest, the Nissan of David May and Mark Skeets, the Nissan 370Z. 19th quickest is number 14, the Renault Clio of Craig Guest for Spires Motorsport, run by Anton Spires, ex-Clio racer for a number of years. And 20th quickest, another Clio, Chris Bialan and Simon Mason's version. Right, we'll give you the rest of the grid a little bit later on. 31 cars took part in that qualifying session in total. So the Classic Touring Car Racing Club coming up very shortly, and earlier on Ian caught up with a few of the drivers down in the paddock.
Hello everybody, welcome back to a very wet assembly area. But what a morning we're having here at Silverstone on the GP circuit. As you can see behind me, we're getting ready for race 2 now of Thunder Boss and the Jags as well, a personal favourite of mine. Here we've got Sam Wilson over the Aston Martin. Oh my word, if there's cars to die for, this is one, right? Here he is, Sam. I did, I can't open that. There we go. Yeah. We've got to make sure it's safe. Yeah. I did promise you I was going to come over and have a quick chat. We managed to get your name right as well on the TSL for you. Right, now this beast in the wet. You're not nervous, are you?
No, never. No, it's deceptively good in the wet. Yeah, the guys have done a really good job.
It's down to the driver, actually, Sam.
Of course, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. But no, the guys have done an incredible job on the car. And it's, as you see, it's not quite as it came out of the factory, so...
no, it's had a few modifications. It's a fan's favourite. Tell us what work has been done. The big bits, of course, because we could talk about it all day, couldn't we? Really?
To be honest, it's just been completely fettled, nut and bolt check through and through. There's now a massive wing on the back, which seems to be making a bit of a difference. But to be honest,
my Citroen C1 needs a big wing.
I reckon you could do one. Yeah. I reckon so. But
make it go faster.
Yeah. But other than that, the car has just literally been checked through front to back. The guys are so thorough. They're so good.
Now, so I've been asking everybody this question. So far, I've had mixed results with it. Would you trust me to take this out in the wet around Silverstone in race conditions?
Not a sniff. Stick to golf.
Stick to golf. Okay, fine. We must get out on the course someday. I'll tell you that. Thanks. So best of luck for the race, of course, as well. There we go. We'll pull that back to him there. We spoke to Mike Manning quite a bit yesterday, so we'll leave him alone right now. There he is. I'll leave you alone for now, Mark. All right. Let's keep going down, shall we? We've got Abby Eaton over here. Let's go say hello to Abby, shall we, as well? Hello. How are we doing, Abby? Are we well? Are we... Are we excited for this one? You don't mind the rain, do you?
I love the rain, yeah. I mean, I've not driven this much in the wet, but the little flavour I got in qualifying when there was also oil on the track, it was very sideways.
So, it was really harder yesterday, actually, because it was a little bit unpredictable. At least we know what we're dealing with now, right?
Yeah, I mean, I said yesterday, as long as it's wet or dry, it's a bit more helpful for something like this. But you know, the slower cars with less power, they'll be able to get the power down a little bit easier. So it's going to be interesting to see where it is in the mix.
I'm going to enjoy watching it. Best of luck for the race. Thank you for talking to us. Let's keep going down a little bit as well. Don't forget, we have the Jags in this race too. Mike Seaborn picking up the win yesterday. How good was that? Let's just keep moving down a little bit further. We spoke to AJ Owen yesterday. This is his dad in here as well. We'll just quickly say hello to him very quickly, because again, another favourite, isn't it? Another fan's favourite, these cars. He's having a good chin wag here too. How you doing? All right. I think we might have a bit of a private conversation going on, but don't worry about that. We'll see if we can listen in anyway. And let's just very quickly say hello. This is a good idea, by the way, because it's so wet today. We've got a cover on the phone. Look, there you go. And as you can see, we actually have a red flag right now for qualifying. All right, we'll leave them to it anyway. Time to get on to the race. Thunder, Boss and Jags coming up for you now. Dave, take it away. It's going to be a corker.
It certainly is, yes, thanks Ian. The car's coming up to the grid. It will be a rolling start, 25-minute race for the Classic Touring Car Racing Club's Classic Thunder, Blue Oval Saloon Series and the Jaguars as well. It's a big grid to go through, so we'll take you through the lineup. Pole position in this grid based on the results of yesterday's race is Jason West in his BMW M3. And another BMW alongside Brian Bransom, number 126. Jason West carrying our onboard camera as well. Row 2 is the man we've just heard from, Sam Wilson, in the number 20 Aston Martin. Ricky Can is the car's owner, not racing this weekend, though it is Sam Wilson on row 2. Alongside him, number 100, Andy Robinson in his awesome Ford Falcon V8 supercar from Australia. Row 3 is the Blue Oval Series winner from yesterday, Mike Manning in the Sierra Cosworth, alongside number 240, Jasver Sapra. He's jumped out of one BMW and into another after the qualifying session we've just seen. Row 4, number 17, Simon Lights in his awesome V8 engine Ford Capri, alongside number 26, Paul Cook in his BMW. Row 5, number 85, another BMW M3 for Paul Wood, and number 50, Abby Eaton, we just heard from at the wheel of the Holden Commodore. Row 6, number 30, Gavin Dunn, another BMW, and 123, AJ Owen in his Honda Civic. Row 7, more BMWs, David Jefferson, number 128 in his M3, alongside the E30 M3 of number 4, James Everard. That's a good run in that yesterday. Row 8, more BMWs, 91 Oliver Owen and 96 Ian Craig. The ninth row, the first of the Jags, Mike Seaborn in number 58, not in his usual XJS. He's in Derek Pearce's XK8 this weekend. Starts alongside Craig Owen, number 9 in the Sierra Cosworth. On row 10, number 2, Sam Daffin in a Ford Fiesta, and number 44, Guy Conyu's Jaguar XJS, little and large, on row 10. Another Fiesta on row 11, the ST of Will Hunt, number 70, alongside number 444, that's Chris McGinley's BMW. Row 12, number 14, Jack Robinson in his new Jaguar XK8, new build for this year, alongside the 81 of Matthew Skidmore, and he's in his Austin Mini Clubman, very much a special saloon type of car, that one, very modified Mini. Row 13 is the reigning Blue Oval Series champion James Dunkley in his Ford Fiesta XR2, alongside the XJS Jaguar of Tom Lenthal, number 77. Row 14 is the new Jaguar S-Type of Andrew Harper, not in the diesel-powered XJ this weekend, in his new S-Type, alongside 54 Rick Walker's XJS. Row 15, number 75, Michael Rudge, he's in a Ford Fiesta, alongside Tim Morant in his number 62 Daimler Sovereign Series 1 in the Jaguar Championship. Lovely looking car that is. 151 Vic Hope heads up row 16. He's in a Honda Civic alongside 65 Simon Lewis, another Series 1 XJ6. Row 17 is number 63 Andrew Maynard in a Jaguar XJ40. That's Mike Seaborn's old car, alongside 45 David Ringham's XJS. More Jaguars on row 18. 88 Damien Gray in another XJ40. That's the Jaguar Formula 1 liveried car, alongside number 3 Joe Osborne, not to be confused with the GT racer of the same name. Joe Osborne in a Jaguar XJ40. Then a pair of Ford Fiestas, number 7 Saad Kayum and 175 of Harry Naga. And then we've got some of the drivers that didn't finish yesterday's race. 188 is Tim Evers in a BMW M3. Not an M3, sorry, a BMW 335 he's in. 228 Jason Rudge went off and brought out the red flag in yesterday's race. He starts 40th on the grid if he's there. Then we've got the 66 of Nick Vaughan. Watch for that car coming through if Nick's got it back out there. Just taking a look in the background. Yes, the Audi A3 Turbo is there, alongside what should have been 74 Neil Philpotts, but he's a non-starter with the Mitsubishi. 191 Kirk Armitage's BMW, and 223 Joe Collier I don't think is going to be there because his Peugeot 206cc space frame car went up in smoke in yesterday's race. And number 15 Tony Davies, we see at the back, he's a non-starter. His Vauxhall Firenze sadly broke down in qualifying yesterday. Big grid of cars though, all the same. Jason West going for his double. We haven't got the reigning Classic Thunder champion, Jason Davies, with his Sapphire Cosworth. He's not out this weekend. We do have the Blue Oval Saloon Series champion from last year, James Dunkley, the ex-MG racer, among others, in his Fiesta XR2. We also haven't got the reigning Jaguar champion, Tom Robinson, brother of Jack, who's in the XK8. Hopefully we'll see Tom back out later this year. Those Jaguars are going to be a real, well, they're a handful in the dry, never mind in conditions like this. Watch for fireworks from the back with one or two cars that didn't finish yesterday's race. There's Nick Vaughan. Also Kirk Armitage, the North Yorkshireman in 191, his BMW is down there. We don't seem to have Tim Evers' BMW. Jason Rudge's Fiesta's not there either, he ended up in the gravel yesterday. We know we haven't got Davies and Philpotts. Obviously no Joe Collier after a very smoky exit from yesterday's race. But it's Jason West on pole, number 76, had a couple of wins last year. The man from Surrey in the underscore BMW, alongside Brian Branson, very successful BMW racer of the last few years. The car that's going to be the biggest handful in this race, I would think, is Andy Robinson's awesome Australian Ford Falcon V8 supercar, one of two that Andy owns, this silver machine in the colours of the great Craig Lowndes. It's also got the Shell Helix liveried one, the Dick Johnson John Bow colours from the 1990s. There's James Dunkley, the red Fiesta, the food businessman from Worcestershire. The auto reserve parts car there, Andrew Harper, the Jaguar S-Type. There's Andrew Maynard in the Castrol liveried XJ40. Tim Evers is there. There's his BMW, my mistake. There's the E30 M3 of James Everard. That's the safety car. Is it going to unleash them this time? It doesn't look like it. The lights are still on, so I think they are going to do an extra lap to take account of the changing conditions from yesterday. There's that awesome Aston Martin of Sam Wilson. Normally we'd see him share that car with Ricky Cann, but Ricky not out this weekend. There's the Ford Falcon, made all the more menacing, isn't it, by those yellow headlights. There's Abby Eaton we saw in the Holden Commodore. Oliver Owen's red BMW, Ian Craig in the M3 CSL. There's Mike Seaborn in the Derek Pierce car. Derek unable to race this weekend. There's Guy Connew in the number 44, the Bob Tullius lookalike. Bob, the long-time Trans Am and IMSA racer in America. Always raced British cars, Bob Tullius. Even had a Triumph TR8 at one point. He was one of the first to make a success of Jaguar in IMSA GTP. In his team Group 44, hence the number. Aboard with our pole sitter, Jason West. The underscore BMW. Look up his racing on YouTube as well. Always provides a few light-hearted videos of his racing. Competes in the Kumho BMW Championship as well, which kicks off its season in a couple of weeks. Former Kumho BMW racer Evelyn Granick leading them round in the safety car. Get ready to be thunderstruck in just a few corners' time. They're coming through Club Corner at the moment. Jason West just exploring where the wet patches are, knowing where he can feed in the power from this big BMW E46 M3 3.2 litre engine. Robinson weaving to keep those tyres warm. Former Classic Thunder champion. First the Jags. Iconu was second in the Jaguars yesterday, and Jack Robinson third, upholding family honour this weekend. There's that little mini of Skidmore. Well, it's an appropriate name for these conditions, isn't it? Skidmore. Let's hope he doesn't skid too much and go off. Getting into position, they'll go, I would imagine they'll get underway this time. The lights are still on the safety car at the moment. When the flashing light goes off on the roof, it means we're going racing. I think it has just been switched off, so yes, we are getting ready to go racing. They form up 2 by 2. What a grid that is! Fourth row of the grid, there's that awesome V8 engine Ford Capri of Simon Light. He had a win here last weekend at Silverstone with the modified Ford series. Mike Manning in the Eggenberger Texaco Sierra lookalike. That really is stunning. Shades of Steve Soper. Where's Andy Rouse to battle with him? We're about to get underway then. In the second race of the weekend for the Edmondson Electrical Classic Thunder Saloons, the Burton Power Blue Oval Saloons and the Berkshire Jag Components Jaguar Challenge. Waiting for the safety car to pull into pit lane, and all BMW front row. Jason West and Brian Branson. Jason's going to take us up to the start-finish line. Out of Woodcuts, waiting for the power to come on. The revs are up, and the pack is unleashed. Here we go. Down towards Copse Corner for the first time. The BMW's lead into it. West on the inside, Brian Branson trying to go around the outside. Let's hope everybody gets around Copse Corner okay. Such huge and powerful cars in this race. Let's hope we don't have any spinners. Sam Wilson up there trying to go side by side with West. It's Branson who's taken the lead around the outside. Brian Branson leads from Jason West, Sam Wilson, Andy Robinson. Tucked in there in fifth is the turquoise car of Jazz Sapra. Then we've got Mike Manning. Behind him is Paul Cook's BMW, then AJ Owen in the Honda Civic. He could have an advantage here, the front-wheel drive Honda. Whereas Abby Eaton, she runs a bit wide in her Holden Commodore. Now here comes West, drawing alongside Brian Branson as they come down towards Stowe Corner for the first time. He's going to take the lead on the inside, is he? No. Brian Branson a little bit later on the brakes. He could drift wide on the exit, though it is so slippery out there. Somehow Branson has held it together. Jason West closing up behind. Is he going to have a look at Club Corner? I don't think he's close enough. Down the gears into the left-hander. Ransom leads it. They're just tiptoeing their way around at the moment. I am assessing the conditions. Third place is Wilson, then Robinson, Sapra. Mike Manning is next. Abby Eaton runs wide through Club there, and through goes Ian Craig in the BMW CSL, the white and black checkered car. Seeing his son Ross out in his Honda Civic in the Pre-03 touring cars later on. Brian Branson it is who leads the way. He and Jazz Sapra were sharing a car in the previous session, of course, sharing Jazz's grey BMW in Britcar Trophy. Jazz Sapra in the top 5 in the turquoise BMW, a little bit further back in this field. It's the two M3s that start to pull away at the front. Jason West looking for his double, and Jazz Sapra has now got past Andy Robinson. He's had a bit of a moment there at Village, I think, in that huge Ford Falcon. I've said it before on BARC TV. It's not until you stand next to that Aussie V8 supercar you realise just how massive it is. It'd be great if we could have had Alex Sidwell here with one of his collection of Holden Commodores. Then it would be the classic Aussie battle, Ford against Holden. We've got the older Holden Commodore of Abby Eaton out there. Peter Brock look-alike. So the two BMWs go clear. They come round to complete lap number 1 here at Silverstone. Separated by just over a quarter of a second. But Jason West is not holding back here. He's having a go at Brian Branson for the lead. Into Cops Corner through the long right-hander. Rumble in the background as he puts a wheel onto the curb on the exit up towards the left flick at Maggots. Then it's into the Beckett's complex. This is Maggots into Beckett's. Can he get up alongside? No, a little bit of a slide there from Jason West. It's still Branson who leads the way. Further back in the order, Mike Manning in 5th overall, now leading the Blue Oval Saloon Series, and 1 place behind him is AJ Owen. I said that Honda Civic could go well in the wet. He's gained 6 places. Andy Robinson, I can tell you, has pulled into the pits, as meanwhile Jason West going for the outside into Stowe Corner. That rarely works, whatever the conditions. He'll give it a try on the outside. Can he pull alongside Brian Branson? He's having a good go here. Look at this from Jason West. He's now got the line for the club complex. They head out of Vale. Is he going to do it on the inside? Yes, he's got it. Great bit of driving by Jason West. Takes the lead. Got the line on the outside coming out of Stowe, so he had the inside for club. There's Wilson's Aston Martin in 3rd. It's Sapra 4th. As we said, Andy Robinson has unfortunately pulled the V8 supercar into the pits. Take a quick look back to see who's leading the Jaguars. It's Jack Robinson in 17th place, just ahead of Mike Seaborn, the 2 XKs racing together. It's Jason West who has taken the lead. West from Guildford in Surrey leads Brian Branson, number 126. He comes from Norwich. Chase is back on now for Branson. 2 leaders through the loop into Aintree. Sam Wilson in the big Aston in 3rd place. He leads his class. All 3 of these cars leading their classes, based on engine size. Mike Manning leading the Blue Oval Saloon Series. He's way ahead of all the other Fords. James Dunkley is the 2nd. He's all the way down in 20th place. And Craig Owen, Sierra Cosworth in 3rd. Jason West sideways there coming out of Brooklands. He's really taking some risks here as he tries to put clean air between himself and Branson. Wilson is 3rd. We'll pick up some of the class battles further down the order when we can. Sam Wilson in Ricky Can's Aston Martin 3rd. There's Jasper Sapra. His wipers have stopped working, so he could end up in problems here. Here comes AJ Owen. More nimble Honda Civic, coping well with the wet conditions on the back of that beautiful Sierra of Mike Manning. Mike Manning, over 40 years of racing experience. He's raced everything: motocross, rallycross, hill climbs, Euro car, saloon cars, you name it, he's had a go in it. AJ Owen, the former Pre-03 touring car champion in his Honda Civic, based on the livery of the Hondas in BTCC in the early 2000s. Further back, Ian Craig is up to 7th in the BMW CSL. 8th behind him is the number 26 BMW, that's Paul Cook. Paul Wood, number 85, and Simon Light in the Capri, now rounding out the top 10. Abby Eaton's dropped back a little in the Holden. Have we had any more retirements from this one? Doesn't look like it. Stowe Corner. Oh, and AJ Owen sideways. He's lost it there. Now, has he been able to save that? We'll wait and see. I hope he hasn't gone into the gravel because he was having such a good run there. No, he has saved it. Just planted the throttle there on the outside, I would wager. He's just out of shot there. He must have just slid the thing round and has kept it going. Only lost a few seconds there. Now he's trying to catch back up to the back of the Sierra. There's Ian Craig. He's up to 7th. Behind him, that is, I think, the BMW of Paul Wood in 8th place, the black and orange machine. 9th is Cook in the 26, and here's the battle in the Jaguars further back. There is Jack Robinson. I think he's still, he's still leading the Jaguars down the lower reach of the top 20. There's Kirk Armitage, 191, a couple of spots behind him coming through from the back of the grid. Robinson, this new Jaguar XK, built in 3 months by the Swallows Racing team. Craig Owen, Sierra Cosworth on his tail, and up ahead of them, that's James Dunkley. His little Fiesta going well, closing up on one of the BMWs there. That's the treble 4, the M3 GTR of Chris McGinley. There's Mike Seaborn. There goes James Dunkley, the reigning Blue Oval champion. Just raced an MG Midget a few years ago. Kirk Armitage has got ahead of Owen and Robinson now. Here's the leader. The gap that time through was 1.788 seconds for West over Branson. Still Wilson in third. We've got plenty of time to go yet. We're just under 17 minutes. A longer race today at 25 minutes. It's Paul Cook in his BMW, and he's coming under fire from Simon Light in that incredible V8 engine Capri. Just look at that. Absolutely wild, that car. Gavin Dunn, long-time BMW racer behind them, won the Aston Martin Owners Club Intermark series a few years ago with that number 30 M3. Very much a super touring look-alike. Shades of the likes of Roberto Ravaglia and Joe Winkelhoff from the mid-90s. There's the 30 M3, that's a DTM look-alike. James Everard, ex-classic Alfa Romeo racer. Further back in the order, a clutch of Jaguars. 63 is Andrew Maynard in the XJ40, the ex-Mike Seaborn car. Looking lovely in its Castrol livery. Of course, it was an IMSA GTP Jaguar prototypes run in those colours. Simon Light still ahead of Gavin Dunn, who's got ahead of Paul Cook now. There's James Everard with the yellow headlamps in the background. Just behind him was number 128. I think it's still the 128 car there of David Jefferson. It's still West from Branson at the front. They've gone way ahead of Sam Wilson's Aston Martin. But there are battles in the classes further down the field everywhere you look. I believe just the one retirement so far, Andy Robinson's Falcon, sadly. I know Andy was feeling a bit under the weather coming into this weekend. Jack Robinson continues to set the Jaguar pace. He's in 21st overall. He's 3 seconds clear of Mike Seaborn. There he is in the other XK8, Derek Pearce's car. Derek Pearce has been racing Jaguars for as long as I can remember. Started out in a Mark II saloon. Here's the battle between Maynard, David Ringham in the 45, the Power Bell Services XJS. The also reserved parts car of Andrew Harper from Derbyshire, second season of racing. They're being lapped by the race leader Jason West. I know Andrew Harper will be being cheered on by his son Thomas, up-and-coming kart racer. See the Andrew Harper car in the colours of the famous Silk Cut Jaguars there. Mentioning Power Bell Services, they're Jaguar racing normally upheld by Colin Philpott in his XJS. Unfortunately, that blew its differential in testing earlier in the week and he was unable to race. Should see him back out soon though. Also James Ram, the former champion, is currently putting together a new engine, we're told, for his XJS. Here's a challenge on for third place. The two light blue cars, it's pale blue and orange Gulf colours against turquoise. Who raced in turquoise? Leighton House in Formula 1. Here it's Jasmir Sapra, and he's going for third. They lap Saad Qayyum in his Ford Fiesta. Sapra, the man from Coventry, goes for the inside. Not close enough to Sam Wilson in the big Aston, though. Incredible looking car. Looks more like a top fuel funny car dragster almost, that Aston. They're coming up to lap this trio of Jaguars. Wilson just about holding third at the moment. Still leading the Blue Oval cars is Mike Manning, way ahead of his opposition in 5th overall. The next Blue Oval Series car is James Dunkley in 19th and Craigo in 20th. The Jaguar leaders are 21st and 22nd behind them, Robinson and Seaborn. Third Jaguar is Guy Connew in 25th. 13 minutes of the race still to go, so it could all change. There's Mike Manning in the Sierra, coping well with no headlamps. AJ Owen behind him after that mistake at Stowe earlier on. He leads his class, Classic Thunder Class C. Class A is led by Branson, Class B by West, the overall leader. Then there's the two historic classes, Classes H1 and H2. H1 is led by Sam Wilson. Class H2. The only entry was Neil Philpotts in the Mitsubishi Starion. He was a non-starter. Class S for space frame cars. The only entry in that, Joe Collier. He went out yesterday. The other classes in the Blue Oval Saloons, Mike Manning leads Class S. Class D is led by James Dunkley, and Class C, the only entry there is Sam Daffin. We should have seen Stuart Kay's Ford Capri in Class C. The chairman of the Classic Touring Car Racing Club sadly had to pull out of the weekend due to illness, so get well soon, Stuart Kay. Oh, Simon Light has pulled into the pits, unfortunately. The Ford Capri is out. Not a good weekend for Capris, unfortunately. What about the classes in the Jaguars? Well, the classification there, Class A is for standard cars, and then it goes up the more modified your car is. The most modified cars in Class D. Class A, that's being led by Andrew Harper, class champion last year. Class B, there's only one entry, that's Jack Robinson. In Class C, the lead there, just looking down the timing screen, is with Mike Seaborn. And Class D for the full race modified cars is Guy Conyon. So that's a summary of the classes. And now AJ Owen, now they're through the back markers, he's getting up with Mike Manning in the battle for 5th place. Still West from Branson, leads by just under 2 seconds at the front of the field. Sam Wilson third, some 20 seconds back. Jasvir Sapra is on his tail. Well, he's dropped back to about 2.5 seconds behind the Aston last time through, in 4th place in the BMW. But it's Manning and Owen. Craig still 7th in the BMW. And then Paul Wood, Gavin Dunn and David Jefferson round out the top 10. As James Everard has pulled into the pits as well. The E30 M3 sadly out. A few cars running into a few gremlins, and Andrew Maynard was nearly in trouble there, sliding the XJ40. There are the leaders, lapping the Mini of Matt Skidmore. I wonder if we'll see that machine out at the Mini Festival later this year at Brands Hatch. You might see Matt Skidmore in the fastest Mini in the world race. Harvey Deeth usually wins that in his space frame Mini with a Radical engine in it. Yes, really. See the Mini Quattro, Mini body on an Audi Quattro chassis. You can do anything with a Mini if you set your mind to it. It's BMW's up front here, lapping Sam Daffin. There he is, his very smart Ford Fiesta. He competes in the modified Ford series with that machine as well. Here come the leaders. Jason West lapping the Jaguar leaders now. There's Mike Seaborn giving chase to Jack Robinson, who dives to one side at Beckett's. That's the overall leaders through. Jack Robinson still leading the Jags. The beautiful Swallows Racing newly built XK8. A couple of years ago we saw Chris Boone win the Jaguar title in his XK8, the first driver to do so in one of the more modern machines. Here comes that battle for 5th. Mike Manning ahead of AJ Owen. We saw another Jag go through behind them there. That's the 54 car of Rick Walker, and here's another. That's Simon Lewis, the yellow Series 1 XJ6, the Daimler as well of Tim Morant. So the Jags, most of them now are, in fact all of them now are lapped down. So in there is number 75 Michael Rudge in his Fiesta. Oh, Rick Walker has had a spin at Cops. The green XJS. Had a shunt in that at Alton Park last season. Leaders are at Abbey. The Fiesta's sliding about there in the background. Sam Daffin is one of them. Jason West continues to lead. Just over 8 minutes of this race to go for the Edmondson Electrical Classic Thunder Saloons, Burton Power Blue Oval Saloon Series, and the Berkshire Jag Components Jaguar Challenge. Thanks to all your comments on YouTube. To see that a certain Jimmy Broadbent is watching, sim racer extraordinaire. Not racing his Praga this weekend though. We'll hopefully see him back out later this year. Maynard ahead of David Ringham. Andrew Maynard, not afraid to get that XJ40 sideways, effectively a Series 4 XJ in the Jaguar hierarchy. XJ40 wasn't as popular as its predecessors, though, sadly. Here's a battle between Kirk Armitage, who started from the back. He had a collision with Neil Philpotts in yesterday's race, catching Oliver Owen. So he's now up into 13th place from the back. Kirk Armitage, who's been a regular in the Northern Saloon and Sports Car Championship for over the last few years, based at Croft by the Darlington District Motor Club. Mike Manning has pulled away again from AJ Owen in the Civic. There's another of the Jaguars, that's the number 3. Joe Osborne, one of our newcomers this year in the XJ40. That's another Swallows racing car. Joe Osborne runs the parts division at Swallows Racing. Oh, and the leader getting squeezed wide there. Look at this. Excuse me, he says to the back markers. That's Tim Morant and Michael Rudge being lapped. What a contrast. The big Daimler forcing the Fiesta out wide. Where else can you see that in club racing? A big old Series 1 Daimler and a Fiesta XR2 battling it out. Jason West laps Simon Lewis, been racing that Jaguar for many years, the other Series 1. Mike Rudge having the pace there on Tim Morant in the big, almost limousine-like compared to the Fiesta, the big Daimler. They are loving this out there, regardless of the fact they're a lap down. This battle at the moment, looking at what position they're in, I'll have to look down the timing screen. Yeah, this is a fight for 28th place. And even so, they're loving it. Motorsport should be fun. It certainly is here at Silverstone today. There are the leaders. West from Branson, separated by just under 2 seconds. And whoa, Brian Branson flings the BMW sideways. He's loving this as well. Jason West continues to lead. Over the line they go, just under 5 minutes on the clock. Next man to be lapped is going to be Andrew Harper in the Jaguar S-Type. There he is. We didn't see the leaders there at Beckett's. They go either side of him. That was a bit of a Code Brown moment for Andrew Harper there. Nearly got a double BMW. Harper eased off considerably there as a result of that, just to calm his nerves, I think. Down the straight they come. Still leading the Jaguars is Jack Robinson. He's 19th in the overall classification. Mike Manning still dominating the Blue Oval Saloons in the Sierra Cosworth. Big twitch there from the race leader Jason West as they came out of Stowe Corner and into Vale. There goes Mike Manning over the line. He's lapped Guy Connew in the Group 44 Bob Tullius lookalike XJS. Abby Eaton's been lapped in her Holden, sliding the Aussie beast around there. She's in 14th place, so everybody up to there has been lapped. Now the 3 car looks like it's slowing. That's Joe Osborne. It's his first season of racing. That's the ex-Jack Robinson car, so it's previous custodian. Let's just put him a lap down. Now Mike Seaborn has got Jack Robinson in his sights here. In Derek Pearce's XK8, the grey machine. It's almost like a stealth bomber in that grey, doesn't it? Up onto the back of its class rival, its championship rival. Leaders lap another couple of Jags. I think that's the second time those two, Maynard and Ringham, have gone a lap down. On board with Jason West as he comes through Luffield. BMW nose diving out wide. 2.5 minutes to go. I think this will be the start of the last lap. Take a look to the right. See if the marshals have got the board out there. Yes, last lap for Jason West, looking for a double. There's number 26, that's Paul Cook in his BMW. He's currently running in 13th place, dropped back a bit, was running in the top 10 early on. Rick Walker's got going again after his spin, he goes a lap down. It's looking good for West. He's pulled away from Brian Branson now by a few more tenths, and he's still sliding around there. He's loving this. Seen a few twitches from Jason West, a couple of slides from Branson too going into Brooklands. Mike Rudge slowing there in the Fiesta. We saw him battling the Jaguars early on. Through Stowe Corner for what will be the final time. West comes up to lap Kirk Armitage, who's now 12th. Good run from the back. One car we have seen come through as well, we haven't seen much of him, is Nick Vaughan from last on the grid in the turbocharged Audi A3. He's up to 10th from the back of the field now. Here's Mike Manning. One race leader lapping another, if that makes sense. Mike Manning lapping Jack Robinson, who's still holding off Mike Siebel. Flash of flame from the Sierra exhaust. Experienced Welshman drawing on his rallycross experience, I think, here in these conditions. Just over 2 seconds in it for the lead. They're way ahead of everybody else, the two BMWs. Jason West last time round did the fastest lap of the race, 2:28.17. It looks like it's going to be a first win of the season for Jack Robinson, and I think that'll be his first overall Jaguar win. It was his brother Tom who did almost all the winning last year to take the title in his supercharged XJR6, but not racing that car this year, we're told. Jason West sliding his way home for a second win of the weekend in the Edmondson Electrical Classic Thunder Saloons. Second overall win as well. Here he comes out of Woodcote. Only got to put his foot down now, up towards the line. Jason West makes it 2 wins out of 2 at Silverstone. He's in the spray there somewhere. There he is. Second place for Brian Branson. And a long way back in third is going to be Sam Wilson in the Aston Martin. Kirk Armitage, good run from the back. He finishes 12th, the lap down. Paul Cook just behind him. So we'll have 11 cars on the lead lap out of the 40 that started. Our Jaguar lead battle. There is our race leader in the Blue Oval Saloon Series, and AJ Owen still sliding around in his spray. Great stuff. Abby Eaton over the line in the Holden. She comes in 14th. Still waiting for our third placeman to cross the line. He's a long way back. There's Sam Wilson, slapping James Dunkley and a few others as he crosses the line. Jasvir Sapra is 4th. He was less than 2 seconds behind Wilson at flagfall. And it's going to be Mike Manning in 5th place. Here he comes, lapping Andrew Harper's Jaguar S-Type. AJ Owen in 6th place. He's going to win his class in the Classic Thunder Saloons. They come in for 5th and 6th places. And Mike Manning wins the Burt Power Blue Oval Saloon Series. Just waiting for Jack Robinson to come home to win the Big Cats. Here he comes, he's still ahead of Mike Seaborn. It's a first win for the Swallows Racing XK8, and sliding across the line in celebration, Jack Robinson wins the Berkshire Jag Components Jaguar Challenge, just ahead of yesterday's winner Mike Seaborn. Ian Craig 7th overall. Paul Wood is 8th in his BMW. Gavin Dunn and Nick Vaughan. Vaughan the Prawn, as he's known, will complete the top 10. Good run through from the back of the grid after he ended up in the gravel at Copse Corner yesterday. Remaining runners over the line. Looks like we've only lost a couple of cars, and that one everybody being very sensible indeed there, given the conditions. We only had 3 retirements, in fact all of them apparently mechanical related. We lost James Everard's BMW E30 M3, Simon Light's Capri, and Andy Robinson's Ford Falcon. It is a win for Jason West. The winning margin 2.294 seconds. He got the fastest lap as well, 2 minutes 28.170. Well done, Jack Robinson. That's his first win in the Jaguar Challenge. Mike Manning completely dominating the Blue Oval Saloon Series in his Sierra Cosworth RS500 this weekend. James Dunkley was second and Craig Owens Sierra Cosworth third. Robinson and Seaborn winning their classes in the Jaguars, classes B and C. Class D went to Guy Connew. Class A, further down, was won by Andrew Harper. In Classic Thunder, Class A went to Brian Branson, Class B to Jason West. Class C was won by AJ Owen. Class H1 went to Sam Wilson's Aston Martin, and Class H2 there were no starters, nor Class S. In Blue Oval Saloons, Class C went to Sam Daffin, Class D went to James Dunkley, Class F would have been Jason Rudge, but he was a non-starter, the only entry in this class this weekend. Class S went to Mike Manning and Class W to Saad Kayu. Those are your class winners. Very busy race indeed, a 40-car grid. We can now hand down to Ian Waterhouse in Parc Fermé.
Yeah, welcome everybody down to Parc Fermé. As you can see, it's almost a little bit of deja vu, isn't it, from yesterday. Mr. Jason West picking up the weekend. I think we might be about to get clobbered by this as well. We don't want to do that. Jason, what a great way to start the season, a pair of wins. Tell us about that one.
That was brilliant. Brian kept me very, very honest through that. It was interesting going through the back markers, but yeah, that was an awesome race. Love it in the wet.
You make a good point, actually. It's such a big grid. I think there was 22 rows of cars. Does it become a bit hairy out there at times?
There's a few places, because of the closing speed with us on full wets and cars behind on track day tyres or even road tyres. There's some big differences in the speed that you're going into corners, so you have to be careful.
Jason, perfect start to the weekend. Absolutely amazing, isn't it? Best of luck for the rest of the season as well. I'm sure we'll see you as well. You've got to be over there as well. You've got to do your media duties, I'm afraid. Let's keep on going, shall we? Brian Branson, second place again. Mike Manning, of course, picking up another win for the Boston Blue Oval Series. I'm trying to find where everybody is here. Mr. Cook over here is just having a quick look underneath the bonnet. Everything okay?
Yeah, all good, yeah.
Love your helmet, by the way. Look at that. We know who that's in honour of, don't we? What was it like out there? Quite hairy at times due to the greasiness of the track?
Very greasy. I was on the wrong type of wets. It's what we run in the BMW car club, and it's what all I've got. But everybody else seems to run proper race wets. I had no grip whatsoever. But I was only here to test the engine this weekend, and I've totally enjoyed myself, so I'll be back.
You won't be able to see it, he is smiling underneath that helmet. Thanks for talking to us, congratulations. Let's keep going as well. Look at the Jag. We know how much I love a Jag, and you know how much I love a Jag.
That was more of a drift than a race.
Was it?
Yeah.
They're so huge, these things, aren't they? Is there much standing water out there, or is it all be clear?
No, it's just very greasy at the moment, I'd say. There's some standing water on the new pits over there, but just greasy otherwise. And I couldn't get to handle with the tyres today, so I was just drifting everywhere. I had a bit of a Kylie moment at Cops here, but kept going. It was good. Made it anyway to finish with one piece, so that's good.
Excellent, good weekend. Thanks for talking to us. Let's keep going down. I just want to see if there is anybody else. Brian, see if we can grab Brian Branson. Just a quick note as well. Jaguars as well. Jack Robinson taking the win there. Mike Seaborn, who won yesterday's race, in second place. Brian, can we just jump in very, very quickly? You're going to get him this season, aren't you?
Yeah, what it is, I know there's every racing driver's book of excuses ever, but I've actually got a wrong gearbox in. It's too long a ratio, so it's not got like the punch out the corners like an M3 gearbox. So But yeah, that's good fun anyway.
That's what I like to hear. I've got to go find Jas. I did promise I'd speak to him today, didn't I, as well, at some point there. There we go. All right, I just wanted to see if anybody else about if we've still got time. I think we are going to have to hand back, though, because we are about to get underway for the pre-93.
We've got Britcar as well, haven't we?
Fantastic. Yes, you have, yeah. Pre-93 03s as well coming up. So we're going to have to hand back to Dave to take you through that one. Enjoy.
Yes, indeed, the cars making their way out of the assembly area at the moment for our next race, the Classic Touring Car Racing Club Pre-93 touring cars, sponsored by Laser Tools, and the Bertie Haulage Pre-2003 touring cars. Sadly, we won't see the Super Touring series out there. There are 3 cars here. Those of you who were watching yesterday will have seen that Super Touring legend Anthony Reid sadly suffered engine failure in his Nissan Primera, and Richard Wheeler, the owner of the Primeras, went off into the gravel at Copse Corner. So those cars not out, and also Jason Hughes electing to save his Vauxhall Vectra for another event given the conditions. So sadly no Super Tourers, but we have got a very good grid of pre-93 and 03 touring cars. The grid is based on the result of yesterday's race, so it's the winner from yesterday, Stuart Waite, in his BMW number 77 on pole, alongside the best of the pre-03 cars, which is Gary Preble number 191 with his Honda Civic alongside. Hondas and BMWs certainly dominate this grid in numbers. The second row, hopefully we're going to see James Everard in the E30 M3. He retired from the previous race, so we'll have to wait to see if he lines up, alongside Mike Dugdale, number 51, in his E36 M3. Row 3, number 45, Clint LeChalmers with the BMW M3 as well, and another BMW, reigning pre-93 champion, number 1, Andy Cripps. Row 4, number 91, Oliver Owen, and 169, Ross Craig, BMW and Honda Civic. Row 5, 199, Matthew Hollier, he's in a Renault Clio, and 137, Cavan Granger in his BMW. Row 6, number 70, Will Hunt in his Ford Fiesta ST. 86, David Clark in the now rare Renault 5 Turbo. Good run through for him from the back of the grid after he didn't set a qualifying time yesterday. Row 7, Mike Nash, number 148 in his BMW, alongside 116, James Alford with the Honda Civic. Another Honda Civic, that's of 151, Vic Hope, heads up row 8 alongside the VW Corrado of number 30, Byron Aldous. 121, Joe Dorrington in his Civic on row 9, alongside the BMW M3 of Jonathan Olive Cooper on row 9, number 29. The 10th row of the grid, 58, Mark Finney, he's in a Vauxhall Astra GTE, alongside 361 of Lee Spencer, he's in a BMW 328i. Row 11, 911, Eddie O'Kane, not in a Porsche 911, he's in a Hyundai Coupe, the Irishman, alongside number 87, Jamie Sturgis in his stunning BMW E28 M535, the classic BMW, former TCR touring car campaigner. Then on the 12th row, we've got, well, you might do a double take, because Jamie Thwaites is in a Sierra Cosworth in the same livery as Mike Manning's car. It is a different car, though. On the 12th row of the grid, he spun off in yesterday's race, starting alongside another man who failed to finish yesterday, Simon Mann, number 153 in his BMW. They were caught out by the rain yesterday. And the final row of the grid, 211, Chris Southcott, hopefully we'll see out in his Peugeot 205 today, failed to start yesterday. And number 109, the BMW of Bradley Jones Chapman. It says Bradley Jones Chapman on the grid. I've got Oliver Jones Chapman down on the entry list, so perhaps there's 2 drivers sharing the same car. We do see that sometimes in the Classic Touring Car Racing Club. It will now be a standing start because we don't have the Super Tourers. Otherwise would have been a rolling start. This will be a 25-minute race, and there is Gary Preble leading the cars round, the former King of Castle Combe in their saloon car series down there in various cars over the years. His brother Adam Preble has raced with him very successfully as well down there in Wiltshire. There's the Renault 5 Turbo, the yellow car. Great to see David Clark out there, been racing with the Track Attack Race Club the last few years. Of course, pole position on the outside for standing starts here at Silverstone. James Everard's made it out. The E30 M3 is there. That's good. I thought he'd had a problem in the previous race. Maybe he pulled into the pitch just to get the car ready for this race. On board with Cavan Granger, number 137, the reigning pre-03 touring car champion in his BMW. Heading through Stowe Corner, he'll line up on the 5th row of the grid, alongside Matt Hollier's Renault Clio, you can see ahead of us there. Just in front of him, Ross Craig, son of Ian Craig, who was out in the previous race, in the Honda Civic with the Dazzle camouflage livery, the black and white. After this race, we've got the second race for the Britcar Prototype Cup, and then it's our first Britcar Trophy race before we have our lunch break. To the grid they come then. Tension beginning to mount. On board here with Jamie Thwaites in his Sierra Cosworth there towards the back of the grid. So 2 Texaco Sierras here, showing what an iconic livery that was back in the late 80s. Steve Soper in BTCC and internationally as well in European touring cars. The Eggenberger team ran the Texaco colours. Gianfranco Brancatelli, the Italian, also raced in that livery. Still remember seeing Steve Soper at Brands Hatch battling with Andy Rouse in the Cosworth RS 500s in BTCC. I was only about 2 years old at the time. There's Cavan Granger, the maroon and white car, carrying our camera. Well, Stuart Waits, the winner yesterday, holding off everything Gary Preble could throw at him. Oh, problems for the Cadbury's BMW. That's Simon Mann. He failed to finish yesterday as well, and he's not going to start this race. Unfortunately, he gets out. Opens the boot lid there. And I don't think he's looking in his boot for chocolate bars. Green BMW, that's Andy Cripps, the reigning pre-93 touring car champion, number 1. Looks like we are going to do another lap as with the previous race, extra green flag lap, just to get acclimatised to the conditions, because of course they qualified yesterday in the dry, and the first part of yesterday's race was mainly dry as well. One of our YouTube commenters says, I have some formative memories of Gary Preble in the Rover Tomcat at Castle Combe. Just Racing says, I've seen Gary Preble win many times at Combe as well. Diamond Performance says, good luck Dave Clark in the Renault 5 GT Turbo. Good run through from the back of the grid yesterday. Came in 12th place. Shame we haven't got these Super Tourers, sadly, but still a quality field of saloon cars. We've got more Super Tourers waiting in the wings. I understand we're going to be seeing an ex-Patrick Watts Peugeot 406 on track this season. Also, there's a couple of Ford Mondeos waiting to make an appearance. Possibly even classic touring car veteran Roger Stanford could be coming back with a BMW. Had a big crash at Alton Park last season in his Lotus Cortina. Thankfully now back to fitness. There's Jamie Thwaites in the Texaco Sierra. Many Matchbox models of that car sold over the years. There's Jamie Sturgis as well, the E28 BMW. We used to see him in a Cupra TCR car. Lives literally within an exhaust roar of the Thruxton circuit in Hampshire, lives in the next village. BMW at the back there. That's Bradley Jones Chapman, number 109. We haven't got Chris Southcott. His Peugeot must have failed in qualifying yesterday, sadly. There's the Astra GTE of Mark Finney. Vauxhall Astra, of course, won the 1989 British Touring Car title in the hands of a certain John Cleland. Though the Astra was perhaps more famous as a rally car in the late 80s. Malcolm Wilson and Mats Jonsson drove those cars. There's Eddie O'Kane in his Hyundai. I remember Derek Bell once competed in the RAC Rally in an Astra GTE as well. 2 words. Oh, Derek. Rally fans will know what I'm on about. Who's James Alford waving at out of the window there? As they come up towards the grid now. Stuart Waits in the Bartley Motorsports BMW. Began racing in the production BMW Championship a few years ago in an E30. Not an E30 M3, which we see on the second row here, an E30 325 I think he had. Beautiful colour scheme there. Reminiscent of the German flag for a German car. Those marshals with those yellow flags, certainly braver than I am, standing on the front of the grid. Making sure everyone is in position. BMW and Honda on the front row. Another clutch of BMWs behind. Now, rear-wheel drive should be the advantage off the line here. The conditions have dried out a little. Mike Dugdale positioned nicely for an attack down the inside. The number 51 car there on the left. Gary Preble switching his headlights off there. Maybe he's confident of leading into the first corner. Ready for action then with the Laser Tools pre-93 touring cars, the Bertie Haulage pre-03 touring cars. Last car into line at the back of the field. There's Jamie Thwaites. Bradley Jones-Chapman on the right. I think the start delayed board is being held up there on the gantry, so is there a problem for somebody? Can't see anything untoward on the grid. Has somebody come to a stop further round? Are we missing anybody? Might be Simon Mann's BMW still being cleared. Yes, that's still awaiting a recovery vehicle. That's the reason for the delay. So it's a short pause here while we get that car shifted. Just to answer a couple of your questions while we have the Simon Mann car recovered there by the Land Rover. Yes, we don't have the Super Tourers on the grid, unfortunately. Anthony Reid's Nissan suffered engine failure in yesterday's race. Richard Wheeler's ex-David Leslie Nissan Primera went into the gravel. And the Super Tourers electing to save their cars for a future event. The other car, of course, Jason Hughes in his Vauxhall Vectra, the ex-Classic Thunder champion. Jimmy Broadbent says, car made of chocolate retires. Not made of chocolate, certainly it is in Cadbury's Dairy Milk purple. We've got some Cadbury's Dairy Milk here in the commentary box, actually. And those asking about the race yesterday, again, our apologies. We had a few technical hitches with our stream at the end of yesterday. We will bring you the pre-66 and 83 race from yesterday during the lunch break, so you will be able to see it. And indeed, their second race is coming up straight after lunch. I've just been told that this race will now be 20 minutes as opposed to 25, due to the slight delay here recovering Simon Mann's BMW. So the race has been shortened by 5 minutes. Still a 20-minute race coming up for our pre-93 and 03 touring cars. Just keeping an eye on our YouTube comments before we get this race underway. Plenty of support for Dave Clark in the Renault 5 Turbo. Justin Reynolds says, love seeing that E28 on the grid. And Just Racing says, was Richard Wheeler the TVR boss? That was Peter Wheeler, who was the chairman of TVR. And he raced in the TVR Tuscan Challenge for many years, of course. Richard Wheeler, the boss of Brisky Racing, he owns the two Nissan Primeras. We're going to do another green flag lap because, of course, the tyres will have gone cold in the meantime. We don't want to start the race on cold tyres, especially with so many rear-wheel drive BMWs out there. So apologies for this slight delay, while Simon Mann's car needed to be cleared there. Yes, a couple of you are correct. Mark Blundell used to be sponsored by Cadbury's back in his Formula 3000 days. You're absolutely right. I wonder if the car was ever displayed at Cadbury World in Birmingham. Of course, that car probably raced in the Birmingham Super Prix in the late 80s around the streets of the second city. The next prototype cup race is coming up after this one. Race 2 for them, those who are requesting. So the prototype cup is next after this race. Then we've got our first Britcar Trophy race. James Nash says, Tuscan Challenge, that was a great championship. It certainly was. Plenty of the Tuscans still compete in historic racing. I think a few of them possibly racing at Snetterton this weekend. Here at Silverstone, conditions are starting to improve slowly. We ride with Cavan Granger. Again, this will be a 20-minute race now as opposed to 25. Still very wet there on the Sir Lewis Hamilton straight. You can see the gradients on that straight by the angles of the pit wall. And there's one little low-lying bit where there's a lot of standing water. It's Gary Preble and Stuart Waite lead them round. James Everard in the DTM lookalike E30 M3. We've got a Schnitzer BMW lookalike, number 45 Clintner Chalmers with the checkered livery. 148 there, that's the BMW of Mike Nash. There's Jamie Sturgis, that beautiful E28 BMW. I was asking about the Nissan Primeras yesterday. One ended up in the gravel, unfortunately, at Copse Corner as the rain came down, and Anthony Reid's car suffered engine failure. We'll see the Nissans back out later this year, of course, the mainstay of the newly revived Super Touring Trophy over the last 2 seasons. Look at the beautiful E30 M3. Some call that the quintessential touring car. Mike Dugdale, regular at Brands Hatch for many years, up alongside it. Stuart Waite ready to lead them off in the Bartley Motorsports BMW. Can he make it a double for the weekend? Gary Preble might have something to say about that in the Honda. Had a fair few engine gremlins with that car over the last couple of seasons. You can check out all the latest news, points and so on at classictouringcars.com. Here's the VW Corrado. 30. It's Byron Aldous. 3 subclasses in pre-93s. 4 in the pre-03s. We'll try and keep you up to date with the class leaders as this 20-minute race goes on. Bertie Haulage pre-03 touring cars, the Laser Tools pre-93 touring cars into line for a standing start. Last few cars just being lined up at the back. Mark Finney's Astra, Jamie Thwaites in the Sierra. Okay, looks like we've got the all clear this time. The red lights are on, the revs are up, and away we go. Down towards Copse Corner for the first time. It should be rear-wheel drive that launches the BMWs away quickly, but Preble is there on the inside. They're side by side in the Copse Corner for the first time. Stuart Waits just about holding his lead around the outside. A little bit of a wiggle there as they head out of the first corner up towards Maggots, and look at Everard trying to get through the middle. James Everard could take the lead here in the E30 M3. He's done it. Brilliant from James Everard through the middle. Takes the lead in the E30 BMW. Gary Preble in second place. Waite, the pole sitter, goes down to third, and Ross Craig's got a flyer in the Honda as well, up into fourth place. The first 3 have already broken clear. Stuart Waite runs a bit wide coming out of Beckett's. Mike Dugdale is fifth. Oliver Owen in sixth ahead of Andy Cripps. The rest follow on behind. Down the Hanger Straight. It is still very wet down here. James Everard rolling back the years with his E30 M3, the DTM lookalike, out in front. Down towards Stowe for the first time. Gary Preble, the first pre-03 car, in second place. Here comes Stuart Waite. Puts his nose around the outside of the Honda. And we've got somebody off, Eddie O'Kane in the Honda, the Hyundai Coupe. Used to race in the Hyundai Coupe Cup with that car. The O'Kane Irish Foods car is bogged down in the gravel. That'll be coming through Beckett's. He's gone off there, has gone straight on. First 3 in the clear, then it's Ross Craig. Oliver Owen's red BMW up to 5th. The Clio in 6th place, Matt Hollier. Then Mike Dugdale has dropped down to 7th ahead of Cavan Granger, Clint Chalmers, and then behind them Will Hunt in the Fiesta. We're on board with Granger. Let's see what a job he's having to try and get the power down. The wheels just spinning up. These rear-wheel drive BMWs struggling. I thought they might get off the line well, but then struggle further round the lap, and that's exactly what we're seeing. Mike Dugdale ahead of us there, all over the place. They're just hanging on for dear life here as the rear wheels spin up in these slippery conditions. Matt Hollier able to get clear in the Clio as a result. Here comes Will Hunt on the inside in the Ford Fiesta ST. Chalmers, that's the Schnitzer lookalike car, the 45. Look at Granger sideways there into the loop, almost power sliding around. Here are the leaders. Here comes Gary Preble. He's having a look on the inside at Brooklands as the Honda up the inside of the BMW, but no, James Everard holds him off. Stuart Waite's a little further behind in third place. He's lost a couple of lengths. Gary Preble runs the nose of the Honda wide. So does Stuart Waite in his BMW as they come round to complete the opening lap. Stuart Waite's running ever wider. The Honda able to take the tighter line, but Everard gets the power down, and away goes the E30 M3 to complete the first lap, leading by just under half a second. 3 cars nose to tail almost for the lead. Fourth is Ross Craig in his Honda. Fifth, it's Oliver Owen's BMW. Matt Hollier going well in the Clio. He's up in 6th position ahead of Dugdale, the Chalmers, Cripps and Granger. Will Hunt moving up in the order now. He's up into 9th. Has got ahead of Mike Dugdale. There's yellow flags at Beckett's. No passing. That's because of Eddie O'Kane's car being stranded there. Vic Hope in 151 in his Honda Civic having a go at Mike Nash in the 148 Patron BMW. Just ahead of them is Clarkey, David Clark in his Renault 5 Turbo. They have to be careful through Beckett's though, with yellow flags out there. You cannot overtake under yellows. There is Hollier. Here are the leaders. Gary Preble to the inside. He won't be close enough to attack James Everard going into Stowe Corner. Stuart Waite might be close enough though to attack Preble. He's going for the outside. He's trying to do a Jason West here to take the lead who took the lead doing that from Brian Branson in the previous race, and he's done it. Stuart Waite round the outside on the exit of Stowe Corner up into second place. Now he's going after James Everard for the lead. Preble down to third, but he still leads the Pre-03 split ahead of Ross Craig. Third of the Pre-03s is Hollier in the clear. Eddie O'Kane's car dragged away by the telehandler. Well done, Marshals. That's what's called a snatch vehicle in motorsport. Snatches cars out of the gravel trap. Will Hunt passes Cavan Granger. Fiesta running well in these conditions. There's Jamie Thwaites, our other camera car in this race, the number 12. We're on board with him as he heads into Stowe Corner, the stunning Sierra Cosworth. Now he's running towards the tail of the field. He's down in 20th place at the moment. The other car we didn't see take the start instead, he was number 29, John Olive Cooper. He failed to start this one. Just had the starting drivers sent through for our Britcar Trophy race. Thank you to them. Let's look at the look at the way Jamie Thwaites is fighting his car. He spun out at Luffield in yesterday's race, and the safety car had to come out. And now Stuart Waite, as we go into Brooklands, is starting to attack James Everard for the lead. He goes to the outside of the older BMW. Is he going to let the momentum carry him all the way? Look at this from Stuart Waite. He's going all the way around the outside of James Everard. They both go sideways. That's brilliant from Stuart Waite. A great piece of driving. And he's into the lead. You don't very often see moves around the outside at Luffield. Look at the way the cars are twitching. It's fantastic to watch. Confident car control being displayed here at Silverstone. Everard's not finished yet. He fights back on the inside. But Stuart Waite is flying in that E36 M3. And the man from Salisbury takes the lead away from James Everard, the East Yorkshireman. Gary Preble dropping back just a little into third place in the number 191 Honda. He still leads the Pre-03. He's clear of Ross Craig. This is great stuff. Drivers getting a perfect chance to show off their skill. Two leaders head down the straights. Top three all leading their classes, as are Oliver Owen, Will Hunt, David Clark and Cavan Granger. Through Stowe Corner they go. The Barclay BMW leads in the hands of Stuart Waite, the ex-production BMW champion. Through the Vale, down to Club. Still just over 13 minutes of this race to go. Oh, Jamie Thwaites pulling into the pits, that's a shame. No points for him this weekend, unfortunately. Problems with the Sierra Cosworth. Here's a battle a bit further back. That's the number 361 BMW. That's Lee Spencer. Almost looks street legal, that car, doesn't it? Some of these cars are road legal. Even Nick Vaughan's Audi we saw in the previous race. He drives that on the road occasionally. So ahead of this group is Andy Cripps in his BMW. He's lost out to James Alford, and now Mike Nash coming up on the outside in his BMW. The front wheel drive Hondas seem to have the legs of the BMWs in the midfield at the moment. Mike Dugdale just ahead, he's struggling a bit, down to 12th now. As Mike Nash powers through on the inside at Club, he takes Andy Cripps. Just behind this group, Mark Finney in the Astra, then Joe Dorrington in his Civic. Behind them is the Corrado of Byron Alders. Here are the leaders. 12 minutes to go. Fastest lap of the race done by Stuart Waite, 2:45.12 seconds. Through Luffield. In towards Woodcote. This is where the 77 car took the lead a lap ago, round the outside. It pulled clear of Gary Preble. Has Gary got a problem, I wonder? He's dropped back quite considerably there. Still clear in the Pre-03s. It looks like we had a change for fourth overall as well. Oliver Owen has got through in the red BMW. Preble's last lap was about 5 seconds off his personal best. So we'll keep an eye on the Honda. There's a green light showing there on the exit of Copse. Have we got yellow flags at Copse Corner? Has somebody gone off there? Meanwhile, further back in the order, Joe Dorrington makes a move on Lee Spencer, takes the BMW. That's for 16th place. And the Astra of Mark Finney getting involved as well. Andy Cripps just ahead of them. There's Gary Preble. You can see how far he's dropped back, almost the length of the Hanger Straight. Ah, there's Jamie Thwaites. He's rejoined after his call into the pits. The only retirement so far is Eddie O'Kane, although of course we lost Simon Mann on the green flag lap. There goes Thwaites. Running at the tail of the field now, of course. I think we've lost... I think I know who's gone off at Cops, possibly. We've lost the Clio of Matt Hollier, although that may not be the case because his transponder wasn't working yesterday, so it may be a timing issue. Wait to see if he reappears further up the order. He might be being timed manually. There's Andy Cripps, leads Joe Dorrington, the Honda going well. With Lee Spencer's BMW just behind them. And Mark Finney in the Astra GTE. Simon Ward was a leading exponent in one of those cars a few years ago in the Classic Touring Car Racing Club. He's now in the Pickup Truck Racing Championship, which we'll see out at Brands Hatch on Easter weekend, supporting the British Truck Racing Championship. Yes, Hollier hasn't come through, neither has Vic Hope. On that last lap, we may have lost the Honda as well. Here are the leaders. The gap has opened up just a little. Oh, and James Everard goes straight on! Hits a wet patch there on the outside of Brooklands. You could see there he was just that bit too wide. He hit the puddles. Good save. It's lost him some time. I thought he was heading into the gravel. So he's gathered it up again. He's pushing a bit too hard there. Just a momentary lapse of concentration possibly. He ran wide. He hit the standing water on the outside. That just fired him straight on. And that's opened the lead gap up to 1.8 seconds. Stuart Waite leads with still just over 8.5 minutes of this race to go. Gary Preble is still third. Yes, he's back up to speed now. He must have had a moment somewhere. Personal best lap that time through, 2:46.5. They're well clear of the rest. Here's our camera car, Cavan Granger. He's in 9th position. Leading his class, Pre-03 Class A. David Clark's got ahead of him, and Granger again sideways as he goes into the field. Watch him fight the steering, look at that. Having to work so hard to snatch the car back as it threatens to spin round on him. Jamie Thwaites back in the pit lane again in our other camera car. Still problems for the Sierra. That's a great shame. Here's a battle between Mike Dugdale, number 51, and James Alford, running well in his Honda Civic. That's a new car for James for this year. He was in a bright yellow, almost a citrus-coloured Honda last season, if I remember correctly. Behind them, Mike Nash. This is the battle for 10th place. Behind them is Joe Dorrington, then Lee Spencer. Mark Finney. Tucked in behind them is Andy Cripps, who's struggling here with his BMW. His last lap was in the 3 minutes bracket. So Cripps in a spot of bother. Seen his brother Steve Cripps have some success with an Escort over the years, as Joe Dorrington spins and wallop! Oh dear! Mark Finney nowhere to go there, straight into the back of Joe Dorrington, and that's destroyed the front end of the Vauxhall Astra. What a shame. Hasn't done the Honda any favours. Let's hope both of those drivers are okay. That was quite a big impact. That, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a red flag. Joe Dorrington out of his Honda, he's okay. Furious with himself, he just lost the back end coming through Beckett, spun around, and poor Mark Finney had nowhere to go there, straight into the back of the Honda. That is such a shame. Let's hope Mark Finney's okay. That was a nasty impact. Okay, that will almost certainly be a safety car because that Astra's in the middle of the track at Beggars. In fact, we're going to go red flags. The red light is on in the background. Red flags, race stopped, as I suspected there. We're just over 6 minutes on the clock. I suspect that's going to be result declared because there's going to be quite a clear up needed there. So the race is stopped. We hope Mark Finney is all right in his Astra there. After ploughing unsighted into the back of the spun car of Joe Dorrington. Quite a sad way for that race to end. Some good battles all the way down the order. The cars being routed past Beckett's, where the accident occurred. So we hope the drivers are all right. We saw Joe Dorrington get out of the Civic. The rest of the cars will head back into the pits, I would think. We're just waiting confirmation if that will be end of race or whether there will be a restart. If it is end of race, that will be a win, a double win for the weekend for Stuart Waite. Great drive by James Everard. Rest of the cars being stopped on the grid, so we might be going to see a restart yet. The cars haven't been sent back into the paddock, so we're going to await news from race control on what's going to happen. Obviously we hope that Mark Finney is okay after his accident, and Joe Dorrington as well. Saw Joe get out of the car, so he appeared to be okay, just angry with himself for that spin. And we hope Mark's okay as well. Now, cars being sent off track into the pit lane through the gate there. That looks like that is end of race. So the results appears is going to be declared as a win for Stuart Waite. This is only provisional at the moment. Stuart Waite will be your winner if the result is declared, ahead of Everard in second. Good run by the BMW M3 E30 there. Gary Preble third, he will win the pre-03 split. Fourth place for Oliver Owen, number 91. Fifth for Ross Craig's Honda. Sixth is number 45, Clint LeChalmers. Seventh goes to Will Hunt, good run in the Ford Fiesta there, taking third in pre-03 overall. David Clark eighth in the Renault 5. Ninth, Cavan Granger, and 10th, Mike Dugdale. Beyond them, 11th for James Alford, 12th is Mike Nash. We'll await the rest of the classification because I imagine Joe Dorrington and Mark Finney will be removed from the results as the cause of the stoppage. Class winners. In pre-93, Class B won by Stuart Waite. Class C by James Everard. Class D by David Clark. Pre-03, Class A, that went to Cavan Granger. Class B would have been taken by Vic Hope, but I don't think he was running at the end of the race. I think he may have failed to finish. Class C goes to Ross Craig. Class C goes to Gary Preble, sorry, the overall winner. Class D, well, I don't think there were any finishers because Chris Southcott failed to start. We lost Eddie O'Kane earlier on. The only other entry was Joe Dorrington, so no finishers in Class D. Well, Mark Finney appears to be okay down there. I can't see any ambulances on site, which is a good sign. So hopefully Mark has escaped all right. And the marshals will now clear up the wreckage. The crane in attendance. That's a shame for Mark. Hopefully that car can be repaired. Joe Dorrington's Civic, likewise. A man from Southampton, so quite a long journey home today from Silverstone. Mark Finney from Stoke-on-Trent. There's the provisional results confirmed then. The result wound back to the lap before the accident, so Waite wins it from Everard by just over half a second, then Preble, Owen, Craig, LeChalmers, Will Hunt ahead of David Clark, and the rest of them. Well, an unfortunate way for that race to end. The Pre-03 touring cars, sponsored by Bertie Haulage, the Pre-93 cars by Laser Tools. Clear-up operation in progress. We'll be back underway as soon as we can. Hopefully we can hear from some of the drivers with Ian down in Parc Fermé shortly. But next up, it's the second race for the Britcar Prototype Cup.
Yeah, hello everybody, welcome down to Parc Fermé. We never like to end a race on a red flag, but it is motorsport, it does happen. Of course, Stu Waite, he won yesterday, he won again, he's actually got into scrutineering. I did want to speak to this man over here, Mr. Everard, to have a quick chat, because I seem to have managed to have avoided you all weekend, but now I've got you. How was it out there? I mean, it was quite a battle. You had the lead at one point as well.
Yeah, we run Rain Sport Uniroyals. While it was still very wet, there were definitely an advantage. But as soon as it started to clear, I was praying for rain. As soon as it started to clear, you go back to the Toyos and so on are better. So.
Always a shame to end it on a red flag, but of course we want to make sure everybody's safe.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think the fuse for the window wiper broke as well, so I was thinking I need to stay in lead because I've got a clear windscreen. As soon as you go in front of me, I'm like, shit.
I was going to say, when that spray kicks up, my word, you can't see anything.
Yeah, he was avoiding the puddles. I was thinking he doesn't know he's doing me a favour. So
I'll go to him.
Thanks.
Well done, good weekend, good stuff. Let's keep going through, of course. Gary Preble, as we know, winner of the 03, so he won yesterday, made it a pair of wins. I did want to go over here and actually chat to Ross Craig as well, because I understand he came second in class. Ross, quick chat if we can. Bye-bye, I reckon, in second in class. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, well happy. Yeah, we're on some 8-year-old Uniroyal Rain Sports at 30 quid a corner. You know, the rusty rice box has done it again. So we're well happy with that. So yeah, the Align Concept Engineering Honda was on rails really the first couple of laps, and then there's a real dry line out there now. If I'd have waited another 5 minutes, we'd probably put the dryers on and risked it. But yeah, no, it was good fun. Great laugh out there.
Fantastic, good weekend. Great to see you again as well. There we go. The Prototype Cup is coming up. We just heard there is a dry line out there. However, it has just started to rain again. Is this going to spice things up? Dave, over to you.
Yeah, thanks very much, Ian. Getting ready for race number 2 of the day for the Britcar Prototype Cup. The grid is set by the result of race 1 for each car, but of course it's the other driver in each car this time. Certainly for the Praga Cup. John Davis gets to race again because he's driving solo. The grid lines up as follows then. Number 18, Idola Motorsport Praga R1 on pole. Ruben Stanislaus takes his first ever pole position, and he will lead the field away alongside the number 77 Mittel Cars car. Scott Mittel will be driving this time. Second row, number 11, the University of Wolverhampton car. That's driven by Shane Kelly, the ex-F3 Cup star, alongside number 14, the Idola Motorsport car of Will Stowell at the wheel this time, making a return after a few years away from racing. Row 3, the Tim Gray car, TGM with private leads, number 4. That's driven by Ben Stone. And number 3, John Davis, starts from the back in his Radical. That's the grid then. At least confirmed for race number 2 for the Britcar Prototype Cup. This will be a 25-minute race. As we saw earlier, the pit stop race coming up at the end of the day, over 50 minutes. And we'll have the starting drivers for that one a little later on. I've just had the starting drivers for the Britcar Trophy race as well, so I will make a note of them in a moment. And while we're doing that, I can hand down to Ian, who caught up with some of our Prototype Cup drivers a little earlier.
Right, everybody, welcome back down to the assembly area. Almost time for the Britcar Prototype Cup race 2. It's another 25-minute race. Don't forget, we've got that 50-minute race coming up. That's the final race of the day. Let's just have a quick look. Now we've got the second driver. So how it works with the Prototype Cup is earlier on we had the race going. Do we with that one? That was Cracker Gonzalez winning that one. Charles Hall coming home in second place. Now, how it works is the drivers who bit the fastest lap in qualifying earlier yesterday, they went out in race 1. Now we have the sort of class as the amateur drivers, if you will, so it's a sort of a pro-am category. However, car number 11, the University of Wolverhampton car, has 2 pro drivers, in Shane Kelly and Jess Hawkins. Because they're both pros, it means they're going to get a 10-second penalty during that race later on this afternoon in that 50-minute race. Just something to note if we're wondering why that car has taken a particularly long time to get going. So we will have Scott Mitchell in the car here now. I wonder if we could just quickly say hello to Scott. Scott, how are you doing? All right?
Yeah, not too bad.
How are you feeling for this one? Are you confident, feeling good, happy with how Charles did earlier?
Yeah, I was happy. Charles did a really good job. I know he's still sort of crying. He thought he should have won it, and he knows it was a little mistake from himself, but no, I'm excited to have a go. We had a good setup on Friday, not quite as good this morning, so we've made a few changes and we'll go have some fun.
And more importantly, you got the door fixed.
Yeah, door's back in. It was just an easy fix. It just popped out the hinge at the bottom, so a new bush in there. We're all good to go.
Fantastic. Scott, best of luck for the race. Thanks for talking to us. Right, time to get racing. Let's hand over to Dave to take you through the action.
Okay, cars on the grid then for a slightly drier track this time. Hopefully the drivers will be able to see where they're going. There it is, Ruben Stanislaus, who brings the number 18 car up to pole position, the Grenaden descended driver. Began his career down in karting at Buckmore Park, among others. Saw him in the BBC TV documentary Born to Race over the winter, racing with Lewis Apigi in the Praga at Donington Park last year. Let's see how he gets on here. His first ever pole position in the car that won race 1 in the hands of Rodolfo Gonzalez. Starting alongside him is Scott Mitchell. He began racing with the 750 Motor Club several years ago, before branching out into constructing his own prototypes and then moving into the Pragas. Mitchell cars still providing cars for series such as Sports 1000 and so forth, providing cars to club racers. Second row of the grid, we have the University of Wolverhampton car, Shane Kelly, very quick indeed in a single-seater, proved his worth in a Praga last season, taking a couple of wins for the University of Wolverhampton. Second driver for Idola Motorsport alongside him, that's Will Stowell, former European karting star, making a return after a few years away from motorsport. In the number 4 car we've got Ben Stone. Saw him take a couple of wins last year, so he has experience of Pragas. He should go well here from row 3 in that red number 4 machine. John Davis at the back in the Radical. He'll just be happy to keep it on the island. Had a couple of spins in race 1. Now wait to see whether we'll do 2 green flag laps this time, because of course these drivers qualified in dry conditions yesterday. They weren't out in the first race. This is where John Davis could have an advantage, because he's already raced in these wet conditions. You can see the spray has greatly reduced down the Hanger Straight. Hopefully no foxes on the track this time. A 25-minute race. Big thanks to Lucy Berman from Praga for the driver allocation info. And Scott Mitchell make up for Charles Hall's mistake in the first race, where he was heading Rodolfo Gonzalez but slid off at Luffield, and to be content with second place. Ruben Stanislaus with the weight of the world on his shoulders here, looking for his first UK circuit racing victory. Great to see him appear on the BBC over the winter with none other than Sir Lewis Hamilton. I would dearly love to see Sir Lewis race one of these Praga R1s. Maybe Sunday. See what Praga can do. Already seen a number of celebrity racers, and we've got an ex-Formula 1 test driver out there, Rodolfo Gonzalez, here this weekend. Seen the likes of Jimmy Broadbent, Jessica Hawkins we have there this weekend as well. Plenty of sim racing stars, YouTubers. Made it an all-star category, the Praga Championship last year. Continuing into this year. Start to close up then, ready to take the starts. Great to see if the lights have gone out atop the safety car. John Davis, thankfully not spinning this time at the back. The lights are still on, so we are going to do 2 laps. Understandable, because as we said, these drivers have not yet driven in the wet this weekend. They qualified in the dry yesterday.